going to the hearing is A4674. I believe you can.
A4674, upgrades to first-degree crime for cyber harassment of public servant or family member of public service, establishes Office of Cyber Harassment Support and DLPS appropriates funds for the amendments to this bill.
Thank you. Gentlemen, Rodriguez, would you like to make some comments? Okay. All right, we do not have any slips, so if I could have a motion to release for committee.
Second. On the motion to release A4674, Assemblyman Flynn?
Yes.
Assemblyman Hall?
Yes.
Assemblyman Denizio?
Yes.
Assemblyman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Murphy?
Yes.
The bill is released.
The next bill on the agenda is 5048. And I have a reading you can read it. Along with the second.
Assembly Bill A5048, Senate Bill 3800, enhances protections under law against discrimination for persons serving in the military and military veterans. There are no amendments to these bills, and they are identical.
Thank you. We have slips that are in favor, but no need to testify. Peter Lugo, New Jersey State Veterans Chambers, in favor, no need to testify. Jeff Cantor, New Jersey State Veterans Chamber of Commerce, in favor, no need to testify. Steve Fickle, Attorney General's Office, in favor, no need to testify. And Tracy Jesse Harney, USAA, in favor, no need to testify. Is there anybody else who wishes to testify in the office? Okay, excellent. Do I have a motion to release for committee?
Motion. Thank you.
Motion to release for committee.
On the motion to release A5050 and Senate counterpart S3800, Assemblywoman Flynn?
Yes.
Assemblyman Hall?
Yes.
Assemblyman Denizio?
Yes.
Assemblyman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Murphy?
Yes.
The bills are released.
Thank you. Next bill on the agenda is A6000, along with the Senate Bill S4858. Recommendation, please.
A6000 and S4858 establishes New Jersey Veterans and Military Spouses Asset Protection Act. These bills are identical.
Thank you. We have a few testimonies here. Colonel Jeff Cantor, did you wish to testify in your favor?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Come on up. Next 3 minutes is all yours.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you, honorable members of this committee. I'm Colonel Jeff Cantor. I'm speaking on behalf of the New Jersey State Veterans Chamber of Commerce, representing veterans, service members, and military families across our state. We're here because New Jersey urgently needs the Veteran Service Member and Military Spouse Asset Protection Act, and we ask that it be made retroactive to January 1st, 2025. The data is clear and alarming. AARP found that veterans are 40% more likely than civilians to lose money to fraud. In 2022, the FTC reported over $414 million in fraud losses among veterans, active duty members, and their families. The Better Business Bureau reports that military families are more likely to be victims of identity theft, investment scammers, and phishing than the general population. This is not accidental. Veterans are targeted because scammers and bad actors exploit trust in military identity. They know veterans receive pensions, disability benefits, and GI Bill eligibility. Many are seniors, and transitions out of service create financial vulnerability. These aren't bad financial decisions. These are predatory attacks on those who serve. While I've highlighted only a few examples here, and you each have received handouts to lay out additional testimony and reasoning to support this bill. Right now, New Jersey lacks a comprehensive safeguard to protect veterans from losing assets, housing benefits, or retirement security as a result of fraud or exploitation. When a veteran survives combat but loses their home to a scam or a bad actor, the harm is just as devastating and preventable. We also cannot ignore the added pressure of the federal government shutdown and potential other shutdowns. Delayed benefits and uncertainty increase financial stress, and scammers are already exploiting this instability a shutdown should never become an opportunity for fraud. I know 2 veterans right now that are in this position of possibly losing their home to bad actors, but they don't want to testify. They are on the verge of having liens assessed against their homes to no fault of their own. Homes that they have worked a lifetime to purchase and create a life. By advancing this bill, New Jersey can protect earned benefits, prevent homelessness for veterans and financial ruin, and make our state a national leader in veterans' financial security. Veterans kept their promise to us. Now it's our turn to help keep ours to theirs. Thank you for the time, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Colonel. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Moving forward, slips that need to be read into the record. Peter Lupo, New Jersey Veterans Chamber of Commerce, in favor, no need to testify. Michael Eaton, New Jersey State Chamber of Commerce, in favor, no need to testify. Patrick Stewart, New Jersey Land Title Association, in favor of the book and seeking amendments. Ken Murphy and Warren Keating, New Jersey Creditors Bar Association, opposed and seeking amendments. Do I have everyone slip who wishes to enter the record? Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, Ken.
That's okay.
Come on up.
You wanted to testify?
Yep, come on
Thank
up.
you.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Madam Chairwoman, good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Ken Murphy. I'm with the ZIA Group. We're proud to represent New Jersey Association of Collection Agencies and New Jersey Creditors Bar Association. And I just want to preface that my father and my brother are both disabled vets. So I appreciate anyone's duty that volunteered and gave the ultimate sacrifice or was disabled. And with me is Lauren Keating, who's with the New Jersey Creditors Bar Association and is an active attorney. We are not anti-vets. We are pro-small business. And if I can explain, we are hired to collect debts that are owed to small business people. Those individuals might be vets as well, chiropractors, dentists, doctors, contractors, painters, your neighbors that live in your neighborhood. This bill goes, we think, too far when we have proposed amendments which would prevent a forced sale of a home so that no one lose their primary residence as well as their secondary residence. This bill in its current form has no means test, meaning like Governor-elect Sherrill could use this protection. John Corzine, Governor McGreevey, Steve Fulop would be protected by this bill. Not only does it protect the primary residence, but it protects someone's vacation home, or which could also be a vacation income producing property. This bill does not, unfortunately, look at any assets or income of the veteran. The veterans are protected. If you're a vet, if you're in active military service, you cannot have your wages garnished. You cannot go after inactive military personnel. Additionally, VA benefits are protected against liens under current law. With that, and pension. With that, our proposed amendments protect the primary residence, the secondary residence, doesn't ask for a means test, and I'll turn it over to Lauren Keating. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this time to discuss A6000, and I echo Ken's sentiment regarding our respect for the military and their sacrifices, which is why we proposed some amendments that we think would really address our concerns and be able to move the bill forward. Our concerns center on the scope and breadth of the bill. While the intent is to protect veterans from predatory and fraudulent lending, the language as drafted has a much broader effect. The language encompasses all judicial liens arising from any type of debt incurred at any time without any consideration of the military member or their spouse's income or asset levels. As drafted, the bill would remove the creditor's legal remedy of a lien without consideration of the time that the debt was incurred, defaulted on, reduced to judgment, or the person's ability to pay same. Another significant issue is that the It's not possible for us to comply with the bill in its current form. Creditors do not have the ability to determine whether an individual is a former military member or the spouse of a veteran. The New Jersey court rules require us to access the Department of Defense database, which is a website, and we perform military searches there before seeking default judgment. Because by law, judgment cannot be entered against an active military personnel. However, our industry is not aware of any other public database where we could locate people covered by this bill, and none is referenced in the judiciary's rules. So once a judgment is docketed, and unless a veteran had notified an attorney prior, the creditor and the attorney would immediately be in violation of this bill. And that unintentional per se violation would expose us to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act class action liability. In practice, judicial liens rarely, if ever, result in the forced sale of property. It's very expensive to initiate a foreclosure sale, and judicial lien holders, in my experience, do not do that. So our amendments, we're seeking to amend the line that would prevent foreclosure on people's first and second homes, and it would maintain the stability in the veterans community that the bill seems to do. As to the concerns about the out-of-state pervasive lenders targeting military members with predatory car loans, we can see that that is a real problem, but the bill is drafted to exempt any lien on any vehicle for any unpaid debt, regardless of whether the lien relates to the loan which financed the vehicle in question. Again, we think this is a bit too broad to accomplish the bill's goals. So regardless, we propose amendments exempting the full value of all vehicles which are insured and financed by fraud or predatory lending. We were hopeful that these amendments would align the bill with its goals of protecting the veteran community and removing unintended consequences as
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And just a quick question I did ask you before. You've spoken with the sponsor on the amendments that you were receiving?
We've reached out to both Senate sponsor Gopal as well as to the Assembly sponsor, and we met with staff as well.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes.
Second
And so you did reach out. What was the response? Is there a chance to change this? Because I don't want anyone to be running afoul of the court rules in any way, shape, or form.
The Assemblywoman was not willing to entertain our amendment at this time, but she may in the future.
Have you spoken to anyone at the judiciary that could, give any insight on how they're going to handle this going forward?
I have not. I mean, it's problematic in terms of figuring out if they're an honorable discharge of that. Right now, I'll give you an example. When I do a complaint for a divorce, I need to go to the Department of Defense website to make sure that that person is not active military. There's not a site that we use as attorneys to ascertain if they were honorably discharged or if they're a member, a spouse of a honorably discharged vet. We don't have that capability.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Thank you, guys. And yeah, keep me up to date with what's going to be happening with Carol.
I will, thank you.
Please, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Seeing that there is no other questions or comments, I'd like to have a motion to release the committee along with the Senate counterpart, please.
Motion.
Roll call, please.
On the motion to release A6000 and S4858, Assemblywoman Flynn.
Yes.
Assemblyman Hall.
Yes.
Assemblyman Denisio.
Yes.
Assemblyman Rodriguez.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Murphy.
Yes.
The bill is released.
Thank you. Next bill on the docket is A6168, and Mike, you can do the minutes. Reading into the record along with you.
A is 6168. Will file pretrial services to recommend pretrial detention of certain repeat offenders charged with violent crime. There are amendments to this bill. First, we update the synopsis to read provides for presumption of pretrial detention of certain repeat offenders charged with first or second crime or crime of domestic violence. Provided that the prosecutor may file a motion for pretrial detention when the defendant is currently on pretrial release for any crime of the first or second degree or any offense involving domestic violence and subsequently commits a crime. Removes the provisions related to recommendations of no release by the pretrial services program. And finally, provide that the presumption of pretrial detention apply when the defendant is currently on release for any crime of the first or second degree or crime or offense involving domestic violence and commits a subsequent crime.
Thank you. Thank you. Seeing that there are no slips to testify, do I have a motion as amended to release from committee 8168?
Motion.
On a second. Roll call, please.
On the motion to release A6168 with committee amendments, Assemblywoman Flynn.
I have a question. Is this the now similar to the Senate version of the text or no? Anyone else?
I don't know that. We'll check this process.
Yes, because my understanding is the Senate passed the version and this one amended it beyond what the Joint Committee on Criminal Justice recommended. The Senate version is consistent with their recommendation, this is different, so I'm gonna abstain until we get some clarification on that, but I would imagine that the best course of action would be to adopt the Assembly version of the Senate version and went through because that was consistent. I don't think, and I don't have it in front of me, I don't know if these amendments are consistent with the Joint Committee on Criminal Justice. So I'm going to see if we can get that.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. We'll check it out.
Assemblyman Hall.
Thank you. Madam Chairwoman, I do have the other bills, A4474, and the Joint Committee was replete with members of the League of Community Judges, the Office, the NAACP, the Bar Association of Public Defenders, on and on, corrections, local government. And they were all there putting this together, and they arrived at the conclusion that the original bill by the Senate Spirit was the better avenue to take. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, we're watering it down. So I'm going to also abstain while I see the need for this. I think the former bill is the better bill, and that was A4474 by Senator Spear. So I'll stay now and I'll talk about it. Thank you.
Assemblyman Benizio. Yes. Assemblyman Rodriguez.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Murphy.
I'm going to vote yes to release from committee, but I will discuss it with the sponsor as well. I'll see what occurs.
The bill is released.
Thank you. So we are going to have to take a short break. OLS is still sorting out testimony slips and things of that nature for us because we do have the next 3 bills. So if you all will just be patient for the next few minutes and we will
Excuse me.
we'll be right back.
Please, thank you. We're going in recess. So, yeah, we bring it here. Hola, hola compañeros, estamos aquí en vivo, como ustedes pueden ver, hemos estado en vivo ya por un tiempo, hemos estado desde temprano con otras organizaciones de base, inmigrante y también aliados en este comité judicial que se está evaluando estas 3 propuestas de leyes, que originalmente era una sola propuesta de ley que se llamaba el Immigrant Trust Act, que ahora se ha convertido en 3 propuestas de leyes para estratégicamente poder pasar y de una vez por todas poder codificar diferentes protecciones para la comunidad migrante en Nueva Jersey. Así que ya saben, compañeros, por favor comparte este video con sus contactos en las redes sociales. Vamos a hacer una entrevista en 2 minutos, así que no se vayan. En 2 minutos vamos a hablar con personas que han llegado aquí y que nos dejen saber un poquito más de lo que está pasando, ¿ok? Sí, lo voy a hacer entrevista. ¿Tú la quieres entrevistar? Sí, ok, perfecto. Ok, hasta aquí, no te lo pegues mucho, no, así no va, mira. Okay, like this. Right, no te lo pongas porque si no. Ok. Estamos aquí con compañero que ha venido desde el sur, desde Atlantic City. Compañero, preséntese y cuéntenos qué es lo que está pasando hoy, esta mañana.
Buenas tardes, me llamo Alexander, soy el comunidad organizador para el pueblo unido de Atlantic City. Y aquí estamos para soportar 3 leyes que están propusiendo la Asamblea. Es una que codified el Immigrant Trust Directive, que esa ley no deja a la policía trabajar con inmigración, y ahora unas repercusiones que van a dar, que es diferente de la creativa, es que ahora no van a trabajar solo para gente que tenga cargos. Significan que o si una gente es acusada de un crimen, inmigración no puede trabajar como ellos. Lo que vemos ahora deja inmigración trabajar con ellos, y eso es lo que vemos. Y otra ley que están pasando es el Safe Communities Act, que protege a locaciones sensitivas como iglesias, escuelas y cortes. Cuando la gente puede, el propósito de esos biles es para que la gente ande con calma, que no necesita preocuparse que inmigración va a estar en esos lugares. El último se trata de privación, inmigrantes, por ejemplo, cosas de placas, de BMC. Esa información no va a estar compartida con el gobierno federal, o solo si es importante. Pues esas son las leyes que ahorita estamos aquí para ver que pasen de comité para que salga en un voto general.
All right. Muchas gracias, compañero. Otra vez del Pueblo Unido, ¿su nombre?
Alexander.
Alexander, del Pueblo Unido. Muchas gracias. Vamos a seguir con entrevistas. Ahora tenemos, vamos a tener al compañero también del Pueblo Unido, Cristian, que nos va a hacer una entrevista.
Okay. So, lo que vamos a hacer es, les voy a hacer preguntas al concejal. Ese es el concejal de Atlantic City. Él vino directamente desde Atlantic City a Trenton para apoyar a nuestra comunidad inmigrante. Los que recuerdan, el último año pasado, ya tiene casi un año, en Atlantic City aprobaron una resolución a nivel municipal a favor de lo que estamos abogando por hoy. Entonces tenemos el concejal Kaleem Shabazz, que va a hablar en inglés, y yo lo puedo traducir en español para nuestra comunidad. Can you just introduce yourself, Councilman?
Okay, my name is Kaleem Shabazz. I am the president of the Atlantic City branch with NAACP and also the vice president of the Atlantic City Council.
Okay, él es el concejal Kaleem Shabazz, pero no solamente está representando a nuestra gente de Atlantic City, pero también él es el presidente del NAACP, que es un grupo aliado con los afroamericanos que también están a favor de nuestra comunidad inmigrante hoy. Entonces, Councilman, can you just let our community, not just in Atlantic City, but at the state level, know why you're here today, and when you speak, if you could just into the microphone.
Okay. I'm here today because both of my roles converge on this very important issue of immigrant rights. As the president of the NAACP, this is a civil rights and social justice issue. As the vice president of City Council, we passed a unanimous resolution, bipartisan resolution, supporting our Latino and Hispanic communities. We cannot have ICE as an aggressive, unchecked force harassing legitimate citizens who are taxpayers, homeowners, and workers in our community. So I'm here today to support the package of bills, to encourage the Assembly Judiciary Committee to report it out, and further than that, our state delegation from our district, encouraging them to support this bill, and our congressman. Any violation of rights of our Hispanic and Latino community is a violation of all our rights, and it cannot stand, and it should not stand.
I can't say it better than the councilman just did. Para nuestra comunidad inmigrante que está escuchando en español, básicamente lo que está diciendo el concejal que está totalmente a favor de lo que está pasando, o está en el lado de nuestra comunidad inmigrante. Está en contra de todo lo que está pasando con la migra, no solamente en Nueva Jersey, pero también en el sur de Nueva Jersey, con varios de los que están viendo de Pueblo Unido. Vieron lo que pasó en Atlantic City hace unas 2-3 semanas, lo que sigue pasando. Pues tenemos un representante del pueblo, del municipio, gobierno municipal de Atlantic City, que está aquí en Trenton. So él tomó el tren más de 2-3 horas para apoyar a nuestra comunidad inmigrante latina en Trenton, en la capital hoy. So les damos gracias al concejal. Vamos a terminar con la entrevista. Vamos a seguir con otra gente que puede hablar. Entonces, thank you for your time, Councilman. Do you have any final words for the people watching?
We are one people We must protect the rule of law. We must protect the rights of all of our citizens. We must protect due process, and that's what these bills do.
Okay. So, thank you, Councilman, for your time. We're going to continue with the interview. Vamos a continuar con los siguientes activistas, miembros comunitarios que están aquí a favor de nuestra comunidad inmigrante. Gracias, compas.
Hola Jorge, ¿cómo estás? Estamos también, es una mañana muy ocupada, una tarde que se ha extendido hasta las 2 de la tarde. Cuéntanos un poquito esta estrategia de cambiar un bill y separarlo en 3 diferentes propuestas. ¿Cuál es la esperanza de la comunidad que sí vaya a pasar ahora? Cuéntanos un poquito tu perspectiva de lo que está pasando.
Hay 2 cosas muy importantes. Han separado en 3 partes la legislación para poder cambiar la tensión que existía alrededor del Immigrants Trust Act. Creo que es 2 cosas muy importantes porque permite a la comunidad también no dejar que la policía colabore con la migra en diferentes aspectos y en diferentes partes de este bill, pero todavía no está todo dicho. Todo depende de hoy de la Asamblea y va esto a pasar al Senado y luego tiene que firmar el gobernador, pero creo que hay una esperanza muy buena. Se ve mucha gente que ha estado apoyando este bill y esta lucha, y creo que han hecho muy excelente trabajo las organizaciones que se han dedicado a hacer a la póliza. Ahora, después de esto viene la clave, que es cómo hacemos que esta directiva, esta ley, sea una cosa que esté pasando en la comunidad. Yo creo que eso va a ser la clave.
Listo. Muchas gracias, Jorge. Como pueden ver, y ya el compañero mencionó, hay muchas personas aquí, así que vamos a hablar también con otro compañero que está aquí. Compañero, ¿cuál es su nombre?
Hola, mi nombre es Andrés Varela y represento a el Pueblo Unido.
Cuéntanos un poquito, sabemos que vienen desde Atlantic City, ya el otro compañero nos compartió. Cuéntanos, así como una persona joven, organizador también con el Pueblo Unido, ¿cuál es el llamado a los otros jóvenes a este tipo de eventos, a este tipo de luchas?
Este llamado se trata de que todos nos juntemos, no importa nuestra clase social o nuestra raza o nuestra lengua que nosotros hablemos en casa, que nosotros nos involucremos día tras día para que nuestras luchas sean juntas y podamos lograr nuestros objetivos. Que nos dejen de perseguir por cómo nosotros nos vemos o por nuestros backgrounds. Así que es importante que sin importar quiénes seamos o cómo sea nuestra familia, nos involucremos.
Así, muy bueno. Muchas gracias, compañero. Entonces vamos a seguir con la nota del día. Como pueden ver, hay mucha gente. Hay dos cuartos con muchas personas. Así que vamos a seguir con las entrevistas. Vamos a ver si hay alguna otra entrevista. You got anybody? Yeah, but let's do Edgar and then...
Please click yours.
Ok, estamos también aquí con el compañero. Estamos con el compañero, el mero de la parte de South Jersey West. Sería el sur de New Jersey, en la parte oeste. Edgar, cuéntanos un poquito. ¿Tú organizas con quién? Danos tu nombre completo.
Hola,
¿Qué estás haciendo hoy?
Hola, yo soy Edgar Aquino Huerta. Organizo con Casa, el Comité de Apoyo a los Trabajadores Agrícolas. Estamos en el sur de Nueva Jersey. Tenemos una oficina en Bridgeton y en Glassboro. Y hoy estoy aquí más que nada representando a mi comunidad indocumentada, que hemos tenido un año muy difícil, y son por espacios como estos y por oportunidades como estas a donde podemos alzar esas voces para que podamos tener más protecciones en este estado de Nueva Jersey.
Y para la comunidad que vive en el South Jersey, la parte oeste donde tú trabajas con Casa, grupo de trabajadores agrícolas, cuéntanos cuál es el llamado porque regularmente a veces pensamos del sur de Nueva Jersey como un lugar que no hay mucha comunidad, pero en realidad sí hay mucha comunidad. Y cómo, si pasase estas 3 propuestas de leyes, ¿cómo ayudaría a la comunidad migrante del sur?
Como vivo en el sur de Nueva Jersey, pues sí, muchas de las personas se olvidan que nosotros existimos ahí. Pero ahí existen muchas familias de primera generación, existen muchas familias que tienen padres de trabajadores agrícolas, están los trabajadores agrícolas igual. Y estas 3 propuestas son importantes porque protege la privacidad de las personas. Muchas de las veces hay personas que aún están llegando a este país que también les da miedo llamar a la policía por una emergencia porque tienen miedo de que tal vez si llaman a la policía también se pueden llevar a ellos, pero no la policía sino inmigración. Y son conversaciones que hemos tenido día al día de personas que todavía tienen miedo, que no hay esa confianza o esa alianza con la policía estatal y local. Entonces nosotros queremos que nuestra comunidad esté safe, que esté segura en cualquier manera cuando se trata del Estado.
Sí, muchas gracias, Edgar. Esperamos verte pronto y muy buena suerte con el trabajo que están haciendo ahí en el sur. Thank you. Seguimos con las entrevistas, vamos a ver quién viene. Tenemos a otra compañera. Compañera, ¿cuál es su nombre?
Mi nombre es Liliana.
Y la organización y también...
New Jersey.
Y cuéntenos, ¿qué está haciendo hoy usted aquí?
Aquí estoy dando un testimonio de que yo he luchado por la licencia de conducir en el 2019 y hemos tenido un gran impacto al tener la licencia de conducir nosotros los inmigrantes. 2.3 millones de inmigrantes se han beneficiado de esa licencia. En el 2019 yo tuve mi licencia por primera vez y el gran impacto que a mí me da, ¿cómo le puedo decir? Me asusta, es que por medio de la información que están compartiendo los de la NBC con ICE están dando la información de nuestras licencias y nos están perjudicando demasiado y están separando demasiadas familias. No se dan cuenta cómo perjudican a los niños. Mi temor es si algún día llegan a tener mi información, que me vaya a pasar algo a mí. Tengo una niña de 11 años y va a salir perjudicada y no quisiera que saliera perjudicada.
Si usted pudiera hablar ahorita va a poder hablar, dirigirse hacia los políticos directamente en pocas palabras, ¿qué le diría?
Que estamos luchando por la ley de confianza, de tener derecho a nuestra privacidad de datos.
Perfecto. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias para la compañera. Se hace camino. Estamos también con la compañera Reinalda. Reinalda, cuéntanos un poquito. Te hemos visto toda esta mañana aquí, desde muy temprano, como siempre, organizando y saliendo a poder alzar la voz, ¿no? Reinalda, ¿qué esperas de esta sesión hoy judicial antes que comience? Rápidamente.
Bueno, sí queremos que realmente estos 3 biles pasen de aquí, de este comité, para poder irse a votación, para que realmente la comunidad esté protegida. Y realmente, más que nada, los inmigrantes que estamos aquí en este país, en este estado.
Muchas gracias. Ahora vamos a comenzar la sesión de nuevo. Como pueden ver, todo está en silencio. Escuchamos.
We have many people wanting to testify, which is great, but we limit it to 3 minutes. That would be also great. And let's start with the reading of A6308.
A6308, State Communities Act, requires agents to develop certain model policies that are no amendments to the scope.
Okay, we're going to have I'm going to pull out some dates and bring everyone all at once. And just to let you know that we're going to be testifying on A6308, A6309, and A6310. And so with that, let's start with Ami Kachalia from the ACLU. Please come up. If we could also have Isla from Make the Road, New Jersey, also come up. Juliana from Make the Road, New Jersey. And Francesca Cable from Make the Road, New Jersey. Thank you.
And Chair Park, just to clarify, are we testifying on them all at once or one by one? The bills?
I'm sorry, once more?
Are we testifying on them one bill at a time, or are they going, should we testify on them together? All together? Okay, great, thank you. Thank you, Chair Park, Vice Chair Murphy, and members of the committee for the opportunity to testify today in support of A6308, A6309, and A6310. This legislative package strengthens protections for immigrant New Jerseyans, creating a stronger and safer state by ensuring that all people can access state and local government and essential services without fear that doing so will lead to detention and deportation. The ACLU of New Jersey is committed to building a fair and welcoming state, and doing so requires removing barriers to access and also ensuring that all people have meaningful access to due process. New Jersey is home to many immigrant communities. 1 in 4 New Jerseyans are immigrants themselves. 1 in 6 residents have at least one immigrant parent. Over the last year, these communities have been increasingly under attack. Here in New Jersey, arrests have increased by 145% for immigration over the last year. And we've also seen detention bed capacity quadruple in the state, with more beds on the horizon at Fort Dix and in Roxbury. We have documented stories of community members that have been taken from their homes on the way to school, at work, in the school drop-off line, at hospitals and courthouses, and even at their immigration enforcement, and at appointments. For so many of us, the harms of the last year are not theoretical. They have left an indelible mark on our families, on our friends, and our communities. And importantly, they have left a mark on all New Jerseyans, regardless of immigration status. When your child's classmate is struggling with their friend who has a missing parent, when people are too scared to report a crime or seek assistance, when a teacher finds empty seats in their classroom, or when grocery stores and restaurants find that foot traffic has gone down, when healthcare professionals see fewer people coming in for preventive care. All of those are impacts on all of us. This package, A6308, A6309, and A6310, ensures that New Jersey resources are used to support and empower communities, not tear them apart. Passing these bills will ensure that individuals have greater access to due process, that they can feel more confident in the security of their personal data when they access resources for which they are already eligible, and that they can access essential services like schools and libraries and food pantries without worrying that doing so will lead to detention. This legislative package will not stop U.S. Customs Enforcement or ICE enforcement in the state of New Jersey, but what it will do is ensure that fewer New Jersey resources are used to enable it. And that's important. It's important that we stand up to protect our families. While non-citizens make significant contributions to their communities and to the state, they are continually harmed by cooperation between state and local agencies and ICE. And we know that this cooperation has real impact, that people fear reporting crimes like wage theft, that they choose not to apply for resources that, as a body, you all have made sure are available to all New Jerseyans. And I think it's important to note, too, here that in this particular moment, it is more important than ever, right? Over the last couple of months, we have seen $75 billion get funneled into ICE at the national level. That's money for increased detention bed capacity. That's money for increased enforcement. That's tens of thousands of more ICE agents on our streets. And that has created real fear in our communities. And we know that, every single day, every week, all of us are hearing stories of the ways in which people that we love, that we care about, are being hurt. And so we hope that you will... I will finish, yes. And so we encourage this committee to vote yes on this bill. These are important first steps that the state can take. And importantly, New Jersey is not alone in this. There are a number of other states, from California to Delaware, Connecticut, Illinois, Washington, that have all taken similar steps to protect their residents. We encourage you to vote yes on this bill. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for the opportunity to share my testimony. My name is Isela Coyoteca, and I live in the state of New Jersey. I am a member of Make the Road, New Jersey. I have lived in New Jersey for more than 20 years, and for so many years our community was thriving. The downtown was busy on Sunday when everyone was doing their shopping for the week. And people felt safe to come out and access the services they needed. There used to be long lines where they gave food out, but in less than a year, everything has changed. I has gone rogue, and it feels like nowhere is safe. I am here today to ask you to support the Safe Communities Act so that myself and my neighbors can access the vital resources we need. Please support the entire package of bills, including the Privacy Protection Act and the Immigration Trust Directive, so that we are protecting the constitutional rights of all New Jerseyans. Thank you.
Buenas tardes y gracias por la oportunidad de compartir este momento. Mi nombre es Liliana, vivo en Pennsylvania y soy miembro de Ley de New Jersey. He vivido en New Jersey por 30 años. Luché por el derecho a solicitar una licencia de conducir aquí en Nueva Jersey en el 2019. Esa ley cambió la vida de casi 2.3 millones de residentes de New Jersey. La ley por la cual luché incluía protecciones de privacidad de datos, pero desde que la administración Trump asumió el cargo, segunda vez hemos descubierto que el Departamento de Vehículos Motorizados de New Jersey está compartiendo datos inadvertibles con agentes de ICE, quienes luego utilizan esa información para separar familias. Debemos aprovechar esta oportunidad para dejar claro que todos los datos de los conductores deben estar protegidos, que la función de motores y vehículos de New Jersey es garantizar la seguridad de todos en la carretera y que sus datos no deben utilizarse como un medio para que el Estado participe en la separación de familias. Estoy aquí hoy para pedirles que apoyen la Ley de Protección de la Privacidad y el paquete de leyes más amplio que incluye la Ley de Comunidades Seguras y directivas de confianza para inmigrantes. Gracias por la oportunidad de testificar.
Press the button.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to share testimony. My name is Leanna. I live in Bergen, Illinois, and I am a member of New Jersey. I have lived in New Jersey for 30 years. I fought for the right to apply for a driver's license here in New Jersey in 2016. The bill was life-changing for nearly 2.3 million New Jersey residents. The bill that I fought for had included data privacy protections, but since the Trump administration has come into office for the second time, we have come to learn that New Jersey's Motor Vehicle Commission is inadvertently sharing data with ICE agents, and that then use the information to separate families. We must take this opportunity to make it clear that all driver data must be protected, that the function of the Motor Vehicle Commission is to keep everyone safe on the road, and that the data should not be used as a vehicle for state participation in data separation. I'm here today to ask you to support the Privacy Protection Act and the broader package of bills that includes the Safe Communities Act and the Immigrant Trust Directive. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of A6310, A6309, and A6308, and the broader package of immigration protection that is here today. My name is Trenton New I'm an immigration staff attorney here in New Jersey. I have worked as an immigration attorney for the past 5 years, and I have represented hundreds of New Jersey residents in their immigration proceedings, both here at the road and previously as part of New Jersey's Potential Petition Funding Initiative. It has been, in my experience, that oftentimes the relationship between the immigration attorney and the client is one of the only places where immigrants can safely see the facts for their life. Over the past year, I have received countless calls from clients who are unsure of what they should or should not do to keep themselves and their families safe. I've had clients call me to ask me if they should unenroll their children from SNAP benefits or the Korean Fund program. I have had in some cases I've had clients call me if they should be sending their children to school. They should be going to food pantry for fear that they'll be targeted while they're lying. When clients are unsure if they should enroll their children in health care, if they should apply for a driver's license out of fear that their private information is going to be shared. I've also had clients who have been in danger call me and ask if they can safely call the police to report a crime. In the past year, immigrants have become the largest target, one of the largest targets of government hate, and as a result, New Jersey residents don't have who they can trust. A6310, A6309, and A6308 do provide clarity, not just for New Jersey, but also for immigration attorneys in the state's DVR providers, who are going to be able to confidently tell community members that they can safely access healthcare, schools, and food pantries, that they can drive, that they can speak honestly with law enforcement without fear of data being shared or infringement on their due process rights as they navigate life-saving services. Thank you, Senator Park, on behalf of introducing the current bills. It has been increasingly difficult to provide legal services in such an uncertain climate, but this package of bills provides needed certainty for me and my clients about how New Jersey resources are being used to support rather than separate New Jersey families. I ask the committee to vote yes on A6310, A6308, and A6309.
You need the lawyers. Lawyers. I'm not basically happy to. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I first wanted to get a sense from you both. Did you all participate in working on this legislation, giving ideas on how to address the situations you brought up?
We did. I think that many of the organizations that are here today are on the front lines of work around immigration, right? Not only people who are themselves immigrants, but who work day in and day out to make sure that their family, their friends, and that their neighbors are protected. And so we are coming here into this and making recommendations based on what we know to be the lived experience of people in the state of New Jersey, and with the understanding that as a state we have a responsibility and obligation to make sure we live up to our values, and of course that we're doing what we can.
But you know that there's current litigation going on with laws like this. So I'm wondering if you gave some any advice as to avoid the pitfalls of those different state legislations in this situation.
We I speak for myself. We have done research, and we have tried to come up with strategies, so that try to ensure that the laws are as lawsuit proof as possible, but as much as there are people. I believe that we have had conversations in the past year, trying to get it to be as lawsuit proof as possible. So I'm aware.
And as you know, the ACLU side. Go ahead.
Okay.
Now, as you know, that for us, we always make sure that things are adhering to the Constitution, and we feel confident that the bills that are before all of you today do so. Like I said in my testimony, New Jersey is not the first state to pursue legislation like this. There are many other states, not even recently, but over the last many years, or the last decade, that have passed legislation that have stood up in the courts that are about making sure, and really fundamentally what these bills are about making sure that New Jersey gets to decide how its resources are used. And that is always something that New Jersey has the ability to do.
Yeah, I'm afraid of going a step further. That's why, and I can see where the argument's going to be made at the federal court. That's why I'm asking if you were able to provide some insight on how to avoid the ultimate legal costs associated with this.
We've definitely had that conversation, and I'm happy to discuss more with you offline if that's something that you're interested in. But as noted, as the ACLU, we always try to make sure that everything that we are supportive of and recommending is what we think it follows the letter of the law.
So prior to today, you saw some of this legislation, correct?
I'm sorry.
You saw some of this legislation, draft legislation, correct?
We saw the bills come through on Friday, yes.
Thank you so much for both of your testimony and your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Amy Torres from New Jersey Alliance for Internet Justice, Jason, I'm going to say this wrong, Agia. From United Healthcare Workers East, 1199 SEIU, and Sadaf Jaffer, former Assemblywoman and Mayor.
All right. Good afternoon, Chairwoman and members of the committee. My name is Jason Ajape. I am the statewide political director at 1199 SEIU, United Healthcare Workers East. And today we submit this testimony on behalf of the thousands of frontline healthcare workers we represent across New Jersey. We strongly, wholeheartedly support A6308, A6309, and A6310 as a coordinated set of protections that strengthen trust in public institutions, ensure access to essential services, and uphold due process. As many of you know, our members are working in a healthcare system that's already under severe and compounding strain, chronic understaffing, low wages that force many workers to hold multiple jobs, and rising burnout. In this environment, policies that reduce fear, instability, and delayed care are not abstract. They directly shape patient outcomes, workforce sustainability, and the efficient use of public resources. From a healthcare worker perspective, these bills matter at different but connected points in the care continuum. So starting with A6309, privacy protection, this really matters mainly at the point of care. Healthcare workers depend on patients being able to share information honestly and completely. And when patients are unsure how their personal information may be collected, retained, or shared, healthcare workers see the consequences immediately. It looks like misdiagnoses, incomplete treatment plans, and avoidable complications. By limiting the collection of immigration-related information to what is strictly necessary to administer a program, restricting disclosure without consent or a judicial warrant, and clarifying that this information is not subject to public records requests, A6309 reduces fear at the clinical encounter and supports accurate, timely care. Clear, uniform privacy standards support clinical accuracy, patient safety, and more efficient use of limited healthcare resources. As it relates to A6308, Safe Communities Act, very similarly, this really matters at the point of access. Our members routinely care for patients whose conditions have worsened because they delayed seeking help. Emergency department nurses, long-term care staff, and community health workers see firsthand how fear at essential service locations leads to higher acuity care, longer hospital stays, and greater strain on an already understaffed system. By requiring the Attorney General to develop policies for sensitive locations and directing state agencies, healthcare facilities, schools, and courts to adopt and publicly post those policies, A6308 creates consistent statewide expectations that reduce uncertainty about accessing essential services. Statewide standards for sensitive locations are not just symbolic, they support timely access to care and improve community health. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Torres. I'm with New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice. We are the state's largest immigration coalition. Can I ask that if you are a member or a partner of New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, that you do a quick whoop? Thank you so much, Chair Park, for the opportunity to testify. I want to start a little bit with just a personal story. My family came to the U.S. from the Philippines during the first Marcos regime. Sadly, we live in a period of human history where there's a first and then a second regime, a first and then second administration, first and then second recession, but they came here during the first Marcos regime. And I remember hearing stories from my tita in particular about just the rampant corruption and intimidation that had bled through the entire fabric of social life, about people disappearing without reason, about how paperwork was enough to determine your entire destiny. I devoured books about that period in history as I grew older because it was so fascinating to me. And it was never about what people did right or did wrong. Often it was about whether you had the political connections or the privilege to survive. And sadly, I hear these same echoes today, not just in the Philippines, but here at home. New Jersey in 2018 did something really amazing. Our Attorney General at the time was a man who regularly talks about his upbringing as a brown Sikh man in a nationalistic post-9/11 world. And he was a leader that understood how public sentiment and misinformation can bring real-life consequences, whether those consequences are through bias, through discrimination, through racial profiling, or through the fear, intimidation, and distrust of any institutions that may further invite one of the above. So in 2018, we did something really amazing. The governor and the attorney general saw that same sick, twisted turn in public sentiment and misinformation about immigrants at the federal level, and they issued the Immigrant Trust Directive. I'm proud of what we did as a state in 2018, but it's an entirely different world today. Federal immigration law went from being a broken system to an outright joke that is designed to separate families and ridicule the people who choose to call America home. But New Jersey is really different too. We have driver's licenses for all. We have protections for essential workers like temporary workers and domestic workers. We have a language access law. We have better visibility in state-collected data. But we don't have the same growth and protections that our communities deserve. It's time to codify the Immigrant Trust Directive, and it's time to pass privacy protections and protections so that our communities are safe. I've heard this package of bills described as pieces of a puzzle falling together. I think that's a very nice metaphor, but I think this is more like a three-pronged key. These bills must pass in their entirety and together in order to truly unlock the trust, the dignity, and the protections that our communities deserve.
Chair and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm Dr. Sodak Jaffer, former New Jersey Assemblywoman and former mayor of Montgomery Township. In 2019, during my tenure as mayor, Montgomery Township became the first municipality in New Jersey to pass a bipartisan resolution opposing immigrant detention and family separation. We did so because we understood something fundamental. Immigration policy is not abstract. Its consequences are local. Nearly 1 in 4 New Jersey residents is foreign-born, and many of our neighbors are living in fear. Just as others who have testified during my time as mayor, I heard about especially undocumented members of our community who were afraid to get the food aid that they needed. And if you think during the time of COVID, in that very stressful situation, that there were families in our communities who were even afraid to get food for themselves and their families, that shows the consequences of this type of legislation. I urge you to support this legislation for 3 reasons. First, public safety. Public safety depends on trust. When fear or racial profiling keeps people from calling 911, reporting domestic violence, or seeking medical care, crimes go unreported and perpetrators go free. Law enforcement leaders across the country have been clear that community trust, not fear, is what allows them to do their jobs effectively. That is the difference between safety and harm. This package of bills will strengthen public safety by strengthening trust between residents and local and state institutions. Second, constitutional rights and basic fairness. Due process is a fundamental American principle. No one should be punished, detained, or separated from their family without a fair legal process. The presumption of innocence is not optional. It is a cornerstone of our democracy. These bills uphold the Constitution and the basic rights that protect everyone in this country. Third, good governance and stability. Directives, however well-intentioned and powerful, can be changed or rescinded at any time. Laws create stability. Today, some politicians spread fear and misinformation about our neighbors to create division and distract from real challenges. We do not have to accept that here in New Jersey. At a moment when federal protections are uncertain, state government must act as a safeguard. Representation is most important if we use our authority to protect the diverse people that we serve in this state. This is a moment for leadership, and I'm so thankful for the leadership that this committee and that the legislature is showing putting this bill forward. I urge you to pass this package of bills and affirm that New Jersey will govern with fairness, clarity, and humanity. Thank you.
There's been a lot of comments about, building fairness and trust. And do you have any reason to believe our local law enforcement is not being fair, being trustworthy? These different groups? Do you have any examples?
This is on. You're on. Okay. I think if you look at A6310, it's nearly an exact copy of the Immigrant Trust Directive. It would be codifying it. And while I think in your questioning for the prior panel, there was a suggestion that it's an expansion, I think in a lot of ways this is a learning. We've had this directive for nearly a decade, and we know that when people feel assured that they can report their landlord for turning off their heat or report their employer for wage theft or dangerous work conditions, they feel they can come forward without facing the consequences of the federal immigration enforcement system. So whether you think it's about trust or something else, I do think that people deserve to stand up for their rights, and if that's when interacting with law enforcement, I certainly think they should be able to do so.
Yeah, my question is, because our reach only can reach local law enforcement. We do not have a right to say what federal law enforcement does. You agree? You agree? Right. Yeah. So that's why I think this is, and it's an expansion a little bit because of all law enforcement. And that there's comments being made about law. I just wanted to be clear from you and maybe everyone else. I don't want to make assumptions that anyone in this state has acted in an unfair way. Right. I would refer to the, yeah. And if that's what you're saying, then I think it should be more specific and not generalized.
Sure. So I don't have it in front of me, but I would refer to the Attorney General's use of force reports, as well as some of the reports that they put up, including last year, on racial bias and profiling. I think the Attorney General's office has put out several of those reports, some of them not near as comprehensive as they should be, and I'm happy to send those to your office.
That would be great. And maybe they'll testify today, the Attorney General. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have Claudia Slider and Anna Vasquez with Spirit. We come up, Eleanor Swift, Jobs from First Friends of New Jersey, Ryan Sachs from Rockford State AVP, and Raymond Santiago from Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office, all in favor.
Buenas tardes, gracias por darnos la oportunidad de escuchar nuestras inquietudes. Hoy les quiero hablar de un problema. Ya. Buenas tardes. Hoy quiero darles las gracias por escuchar nuestras inquietudes y quiero hablarles de un problema muy doloroso. ¿Verdad que piensan que nuestra gente es un problema en este país? Que nos persiguen, que nos separan de nuestras familias, que nos capturan y nos deportan. Mi nombre es Ana. Soy trabajadora del hogar. Soy mamá, soy esposa, soy vecina. Y si usted piensa que yo soy un peligro por ser migrante, le invito a escucharme. Yo me levanto todos los días a trabajar, a ganarme el pan de cada día, a darle una mejor vida a mis hijos. ICE para mí siempre ha sido una preocupación, pero ahora más que nunca. Mientras venía del trabajo un día, Lamentablemente, vi 3 chalecos de ICE llevándose a alguien esposado. Lo sacaron de su carro. Otro vecino se fue por un café y nunca volvió. El camión abandonado en la esquina de mi vecindario me recuerda a las 4 personas que salieron de ahí y los deportaron. Ni siquiera pudieron despedirse de sus familias. Nosotros no podemos hacer las leyes, pero ustedes sí tienen el cambio en sus manos y el poder de hacer de este Estado más seguro y garantizar confianza en nuestra gente, en nuestros pueblos. Solo somos seres humanos que buscamos una mejor vida para una vida más digna. Todos somos hijos de Dios. Nuestro miedo es tan grande que lo sacamos a pasear hasta para ir a comprar la comida. Aunque muchos de nosotros ya no salimos mucho, ya no vamos a Walmart, ya no vamos a tiendas o a los malls. Solo salimos a comprar verduras y comidas y a cerrar puertas para sentirnos más seguros. Cada vez que mi hijo siempre que se va a trabajar me muestra el rincón donde guarda sus tarjetas de banco y me da instrucciones por si no regresa a casa todos los días, porque él me dice: puede pasar algo, mamá. Este temor ya no es una emoción, es mucho más grande que eso. Es un encierro que te aleja del mundo, que no te deja salir a ningún lugar. Este miedo es colectivo en nuestros hijos y en nuestros nietos y en nuestros vecinos que se sienten perseguidos. Es el miedo que te hace estremecer, que te corta la respiración, que te paraliza y te hace casi desmayar cuando tu familia se demora al llegar a casa, porque eso significa que puede ser llevado por ahí. Ese es el tipo de miedo que es por falta de protecciones para nuestras familias, para nuestros vecinos, para nuestras comunidades. Sigue alimentando, y si tú no haces nada, haces parte del problema. Representantes, les pido por favor que apoye y apruebe la ley de confianza para inmigrantes. Cada día, familias como la mía vivimos con miedo a ICE, miedo a ser separados, miedo a no regresar a casa. Trabajamos duro aportando a este país y solo queremos vivir con dignidad y seguridad. Le pido que estén de nuestro lado y brinde a nuestras comunidades la confianza y protección que merecemos. Aprobar esta ley significa esperanza para madres como yo y un nuevo New Jersey seguro para todos. Gracias.
Today I want to talk to you about a very painful problem. The problem of people thinking that our people are a problem. That we are being hunted, separated from our families, captured and deported. My name is Anita. I am a domestic worker, a mother, a wife, and a neighbor. If you think I am a danger because I'm an immigrant, I invite you to listen to me. I get up every day to work, to make a living, to give my children a better life. ICE has always been a source of fear for me, but now more than ever. One day while I was coming home from work, I saw 3 ICE vests taking someone away in handcuffs. They pulled him out of his car. Another neighbor went for coffee and never came back. The abandoned truck on the corner of my neighborhood reminds me of the 4 people who were taken from there and deported while they were on their way to work, without even being able to say goodbye to their families. Although we cannot make the laws, you have the power to bring change, to make this state safer, and to build trust among our people and our communities. We are only human beings seeking a better, more dignified life. We are all children of the same God. Our fear is so deep that we carry it with us when we go out just to buy food. Many of us no longer go out much, no more trips to the supermarket, no more visits to stores. We only go out for vegetables and groceries, and then we lock our doors to feel safe. Every time my son leaves for work, he shows me the corner where he keeps his bank cards with instructions in case he doesn't come home. Every day he says goodbye to me because we never know what could happen. This fear is no longer just an emotion. It's something much bigger. It's a confinement that cuts you off from the world, that keeps you from going anywhere. This is a collective fear. Our children and our grandchildren feel how we are being hunted. It's the kind of fear that makes you tremble, that takes your breath away, that paralyzes you and almost makes you faint when your family takes too long to get home because you know that could mean ICE has taken them. This is the kind of fear that the lack of protections for our people, our neighbors, and our communities continues to feed. And if you do nothing, you are part of the problem. Dear Assembly members, I am asking you to please support and pass the Safe Communities Act, the Privacy Protection Act, and the ITV Codification. Every day, families like mine live with fear. Fear of ICE, fear of being separated, fear of not returning home. We work hard, we contribute to this country, and all we ask is to live with dignity and safety. Please stand with us and give our communities the trust and protection we have earned. Passing these 3 bills would mean hope for mothers like me and a safer New Jersey for everyone. Now, on a more personal note, my name is Claudia, and just one quick mention that I wanted to make is that I was born and raised into this community. I was born and raised in the immigration activism world. And when I was 10, I actually believe I testified in this same room about 10 years ago when I was 10 for driver's license for all. And then 5 years later, I got to watch it be signed into law. It is sad to me that I am still here at 20 and that I was born and raised in this, and this is what I've seen my whole life. And I pray that my children will not have to come here to beg for legislators to give us the slightest bit of dignity. That's all.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Brian Sachs. I'm a former faculty union president at Rutgers University. I'm an adjunct professor. And I'm the treasurer of the Common Good Coalition, which is a nonprofit collaboration of community groups like New Labor and Cosecha, which are here today, and the Rutgers University faculty unions. The Common Good Coalition is a state grantee, which means the work that we do is made possible by state funding. And our program will benefit hundreds of families in Rutgers campus communities across the state by the conclusion of 2026. Each of those families is impacted by the increased housing costs that come with proximity to Rutgers campuses. I want to state very clearly that our Rutgers unions of educators stand in strong support with New Jersey's immigrant communities through our work with the Common Good Coalition and other sorts of advocacy that we do. But that work is imperiled, and it's also made more expensive by the activities of ICE. We all know the reasons, and we just heard some said. Our international community members fear leaving their homes for all sorts of essential activities. They miss doctor's appointments and job interviews. They might be reluctant to shop for food or retrieve prescription medications for family members who depend on them. And because of ICE's aggressiveness, people are also fearful of even basic interactions with state agencies that might turn over their personal information to ICE and make them targets. For these reasons, and for others, passing this package of bills is crucial because they offer the promise of real protections for vulnerable people simply trying to participate in the life of their communities, protections that are currently absent or too weak or temporary. And And just in conclusion, I want to say that it's unfathomable to me that the state of New Jersey, who's effectively a partner in the important work the Common Good Coalition is doing, would in any way unduly enable federal immigration officials to make our state-approved work harder. Passing these bills will signal to ICE that it's not welcome here, that New Jersey stands with immigrant communities, and that we will not tolerate federal intimidation of our immigrant neighbors. Thank you. Of course.
My name is Eleanor Swift Yasger, although the name I use professionally and people call me is Batya Swift Yasger. So I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you and the moving testimonies of so many people. You mentioned Rutgers. I got my MSW from Rutgers. I got my master's in social work there. So I feel a strong affinity to Rutgers. I've grown up in New Jersey. I've lived in New Jersey almost all my life. I live in Teaneck. And I'm coming with a number of different hats. One is, as the daughter of immigrants, my father moved to the U.S. from England. My mother fled the Nazis and ended up here. So one of my parents was also a refugee. And both my parents were very active community members of the clergy, very beloved in their community. I also am a mental health professional with clients who are immigrants. I've written a number of things, including a book about the story called Behind the Burqa, the story of two sisters who fled Afghanistan and are now living as very productive community members in the United States after a harrowing story. One of them ended up in immigration detention. I do volunteer work with First Friends, which is a wonderful organization, and a number of other immigrant organizations. So I wear multiple hats. And I'd just like to say that all of these bills offer protection to one of U.S.'s greatest assets, which are our immigrants, people who bring unique cultural perspective, a richness, a diversity, who give so much, and from whom I've learned so much as a healthcare professional, as a writer, as a community member. And I see people who are afraid to, as you've heard so many people say, they're afraid to get medical care. A hospital, a doctor's office, a therapist's office should be a sacred space. Schools should be a sacred space. Libraries, religious institutions, there should be a kind of sanctity where people can go in there and feel, I can express who I am, I can be myself. And this package of bills will enable us to honor not only the people who are seeking refuge with us, but the people who are giving to all of us as community members, as neighbors, as friends, and so on and so forth. I think of how adored my mother was in the community, and I'm glad she had the gift to be able to leave Germany, and eventually, after many passages, she ended up in the United States. And I think every one of the immigrants I've personally worked with through First Friends, or in my practice, or in any other capacity, are people I'm just honored to get to know. So I hope very much that you will vote for having these bills passed. I really want to thank you again for the opportunity to speak to you, and I look forward to hearing good things about all of this. You know, it's a new year. I hope this is going to be really a new chapter for our immigrants.
Good afternoon. I apologize for my voice is a little hoarse this morning. But good afternoon, Chairman Park, Vice Chairwoman Murphy, honorable Assembly people for the committee. I want to thank you first for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Raymond Santiago. I have the privilege of serving as the prosecutor in Monmouth County, and it's a unique perspective for me to be here today in support of this legislation. By way of background, I just wanted to give you some information. I've served as the prosecutor in Monmouth County for the past 3 years. Prior to that, I had a law practice for 20 years, which included immigration law. So firsthand, I had experiences with handling issues and concerns that that become problematic for members of our community. So it's with that perspective that I thought the testimony to you today would be helpful in trying to decide whether this legislation should pass or not. So as the highest ranking law enforcement official in my county, I can attest to the fact that our law enforcement officials do everything they can to comply with the Immigration Trust Directive. We acknowledge and understand that building trust with the communities that we serve is paramount to doing the job that we need to do. Trying to provide a sense of safety and security is one of the core elements of public safety for law enforcement, and people should not accept anything less than that. To that extent, codifying the Immigration Trust Directive would be a strong move to show that New Jersey is in the right and making sure that we are creating trust between the communities and not the barriers that are being existing as of now. I can testify to the fact that since January of last year, that trust is eroding. The level of cooperation that we are getting from victims and witnesses because of fear and concerns is true. Having to have multiple conversations and reiterations of trying to maintain that trust is problematic. I've had officers express to me that over years of serving their communities with no action of their own, that trust has now been evaporated, and they have to rebuild some of that trust. So reinforcing the fact that the Immigration Trust Directive is here and is going to stay would be a signal to our communities that we are standing together and that there should be no dividing line between safety. One's immigration status doesn't determine whether or not one should live in a safe environment or not. A few comments that I would point out in regards to some of the points of the Immigration Trust Directive is in no way, shape, or form does it prohibit our law enforcement from continuing any criminal actions with any of the other agencies that we partner with. And we do so on a regular basis and collaborate where need be. It clearly just defines the lines of where we are committed to and where we are not committed to assist federal authorities with the enforcement of civil immigration laws. I think it's important when we're having conversations with the communities that we serve to let them know, and that is part of the directive. Is my job as prosecutor to make sure that I alert the community and I alert our law enforcement of our obligations. It's one of the first things that I did as prosecutor was I went through all of our chiefs and our associations to remind them of our obligations. We had community events in our county to try and bring information to the public so they are aware. And I addressed all my fellow colleagues and prosecutors in the Attorney General's office of the importance of the Attorney General Directive. And I will say without hesitation, there's no pushback from law enforcement in complying with these obligations. They welcome it. It provides us with the opportunity to make sure that we have the tools that we need and making sure that we can protect our communities the way that we need to. There is concern, or there are issues that have now been amalgamated based upon the current administration's aggressive enforcement actions, and that pertains to trying to keep individuals here who may be victims or witnesses, or even keeping defendants who are facing prosecution in the country to face justice before they are removed from the United States. As a way of example, one of the issues that we sometimes have now is when we have a criminal investigation that's ongoing, I've had victims that reached out because they didn't get a sense of justice, that a case was not concluded because individuals were removed without having the proper opportunity to have their victims heard in the court proceedings. That same sentiment is also true for individuals who are faced with criminal charges, who are defendants in cases. Those individuals should have the right to exercise their due process rights and have a final conclusion of whether they are innocent or convicted of those crimes. Without that final adjudication, proceeding an immigration task is impossible. So allowing for the criminal justice process to conclude and make decisions, it allows for that closure for both the defendants and the victims and witnesses alike. We have, even just as of recently, I've reached out to ICE to ask them to not take action on an individual who's facing first-degree criminal sexual assault charges. And despite our request to have that individual detained under our bail reform laws, despite that objection, the judge, over our objection, released the individual with conditions, but those conditions are not going to be able to be met because ICE told that person immediately and has informed me that they have weekly air runs to Honduras twice a week so that that person would be deported within the next week. Expressing my frustrations for the victims involved went unheard. The only way that I could keep that individual there would be to get a judicial order, detain that person into the custody of law enforcement with a provision that would allow for that person to go back into the immediate custody of ICE in order to keep that person. Having had the judge deny our request, I knew that that is an impossibility that I could not meet. And the unlikelihood is now that we're not going to be able to have the person here and the victim's going to have their case either just linger or dismissed, which in a ongoing issue with our court system, right, as of right now, the judicial courts are requiring us to provide a virtual platform for individuals to exercise their constitutional rights to a trial. This is an issue that's currently under consideration by our Supreme Court because there's a number of complexities of trying to make sure that individuals' rights are adhered to while that person's actually not living on U.S. soil and not subject to the jurisdictional ability of a judge to actually even impose the sentence itself. So I know time is short, so I don't want to take up all the time here. The other two things I just would want to point out, of course, is that one of the suggestions I would make as the sponsor into this committee is to maybe include something in there that says that this legislation is not the equivalent of declaring New Jersey as a sanctuary state.
That's right.
That term should not be utilized.
That's right.
And to avoid any considerable litigation that may come forward if this legislation passes, at least this gives us the ammunition to go into litigation to declare that what this body is doing is not declaring sanctuary. It's just declaring that there are rights that have to be followed and rules and procedures and sending the lanes of people where they should and should not be. I will submit any questions, and I thank you for your time.
For my prosecutor. And I want to thank everyone else who testified, sharing their information. Prosecutor Santiago, thank you for coming today. I wish you would have maybe reached out and given me a heads up. I mean, I found out about this still in the dark at night, so I'm wondering, how did you find out about today?
I will say I thought this was a miracle that this moved so fast, but on Friday evening I was told that there was a possibility this would come about. I didn't have a chance to read this until Saturday, so it was with very quick succession. I didn't know that it was going to happen. I actually happened to be here. I was going to be here on another provision that we were standing opposed to at a different committee, and of course, being near and dear to my heart, I wanted to make sure. I wanted to reach out to you. I apologize in advance for not doing
So because one of the issues is, and I understand the issues that can happen with prosecution, but the problem I have with this bill, and unfortunately, I'm one of the Debbie Downers. I know there's that skit for Saturday Night Live. I tend to be that person in this committee because I think big promises are made with bills that they're going to do something to protect people who are desperately needing help, and this is not going to do it. And the reason being that this bill, and I know you say it's similar to the Immigration Customs Act, but right now, this bill, the way that we define federal civil law enforcement in such a broad way, it really does tie the hands of law enforcement and people like you from engaging in issues related to immigration. So this is why I ask these questions. This is why I usually am the Debbie Downer to say, we're doing something, but we're going to do something that creates, as you've already highlighted, litigation, and not have the results that everyone thinks they're getting today. Wouldn't you agree?
So one of the concerns that I see in the Safe Communities Act ultimately is that you can't prohibit federal law enforcement officers from exercising their rights on what they're supposed to be doing and acting and going into sensitive areas. I think there should be barriers in the policies that are being required, and announce policies that can make more clear where public access is allowed and where public access is not allowed. I think that clarification would provide both the federal law enforcement officers exercising their requirements to enact civil immigration enforcement responsibilities, and it would not create a scenario which I'm more concerned about is how are we going to enforce that? Are we going to contact local law enforcement and say a federal agent has gone into a non-public access area and ask for a local officer to arrest a federal agent? I don't think we want to have a concern where there's now a confliction between two enforcement agencies, but that's a concern I have for the safety and welfare of our law enforcement, is how we're going to enforce such a rule. I think the policy would make sense in creating rules, but the enforcement is a concern that I think I have overall for the safety and welfare of our officers.
And it would be fair to say in the short time that you've learned about it as well, you haven't had a chance to talk to our local law enforcement agencies in Monmouth County to figure out how we're going to, that's right.
That is accurate. I would, in the normal course of action, I would certainly have conversations with our local police departments and have any input. I did reach out to the other prosecutors in our state to advise them of the tendency of this hearing, some of which we hear today. And again, I know I heard Assemblywoman Flynn's comments earlier at the Attorney General's office. I didn't see
They're not
anything
going to
from the
testify, I'll give you the heads up. We're not going to hear from them. We hear from press releases from the chief's office.
But I am aware of the fact that they are at least aware of the existence of this legislation on short notice, but they are aware of the existence.
Thank you, prosecution.
Thank you.
To all of us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Oyama, Mansour from Care Action. Ali Aljara of Care Action also. Sungwon Kim from the Glenn Center for Community Action. Halima Plum from PACC. Charlene Walker, Faith in New Jersey.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Hongwan Kim, and I'm with the Minhwa Center for Community Action, a nonprofit organization serving Korean American, broader Asian American, and immigrant communities across New Jersey. Every day we support families as they navigate the legal system, the government agencies, and healthcare systems, often in another language, not in English. For example, for me, a lot of times happens in Korean. I'm here today to voice my support for A6308, A6309, and A6310 because these bills reflect what our communities need most: trust, dignity, and the ability to live safely without fear. We firmly support A6308, the Safe Communities Act, because safe access to essential services is fundamental to community well-being. In our daily work, we hear from parents, grandma, grandpa, who stops by our office saying about their children not wanting to go to school, not wanting to go to libraries because they hear rumors at their schools and their after school saying that it is not safe. Hearing those from kids and then hearing those from their parents, and they want to get confirmation by us that it's safe to go to school, I don't think that is right. And, even rumors of enforcement activity can cause families to withdraw for attending any after-school activities, leading to isolation and unmet needs, especially for children and seniors, are crucial. A6308 restores trust by clearly protecting sensitive locations, giving families trust to return to space Space is essential for learning, health, and belongings. Minko Center also strongly supports A6309, the Privacy Protection Act, which addresses widespread fear around data collection and information sharing. We provide immigration legal services and assist community members with applications such as N400, the naturalization application, and Anchor Benefits Program, along with other senior benefits programs. In the past year of year 2025, we saw that many folks actually hesitated to apply for these applications just because they were scared. They were scared that their information might be shared somehow. I don't know how, they would come and sometimes they just want to rant to me about these things instead of actually having to solve the solution. Some just come by and delay or forego benefits entirely because not because they're eligible, but because they're afraid. And A6309 sets firm limits on data collection and strengthens our protections, ensuring families can access services without fear. Can I go on here? Okay. I wanted to briefly talk about the A6310. I think this is actually the hardest for me, so I'm going to wrap it up quickly. We had a couple calls. These are really crucial calls that we get. Some people we even give our hotline number as we are affiliated with other Korean American organizations throughout the country. And some people literally call us like, I am stranded on the street because my work did not want to pay me and I don't know what to do. And I had your number after I heard you came to New Jersey. Our office originally started in New York office. And it's really sad to just even receive these calls asking other organizations and our affiliates for support, how to navigate in certain things like this. And as myself, also, everything is happening so quickly. Everything has been changed so quick in the past 1 year. It's just so crucial for us to have these kind of protections, that people feel safe in our neighborhoods, that New Jersey becomes for New Jerseyans, not for other people. And everyone here deserves same equal rights just like everybody else does.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you so much for hearing all of our testimonies today on these important bills that you see us all so passionately advocating for. My name is Umayma Mansour, and I am a board member on the Council on American Islamic Relations, the New Jersey chapter, as well as the state coordinator for CARE Action. I am also a very, very proud daughter of 2 Egyptian immigrants who came to the United States in 1971 on student visas to study at the prestigious Purdue University School of Engineering. My parents arrived with little more than their suitcases, their faith, and an unshakable belief in the promise of this country. Within 2 years of arriving, my father earned his PhD, went on to work at AT&T Bell Labs, where he received numerous patents in the very prestigious field of fiber optics, including his foundational work on fast start technology, innovations that helped advance modern telecommunications and connect this country to the world. My mom earned her master's degree in electrical engineering before choosing to start her own family. My parents did everything this country asks of immigrants. They studied, they worked, they served, and they raised their children with a simple but powerful lesson: leave your community better than you found it. And this is the lesson and why I am here today, testifying in front of all of you. As a proud Muslim, as a member of the Council on American Islamic Relations, and as a member of this broader community of humanity, I need you to understand what you are witnessing right now here before your very own eyes today. We see fear, real paralyzing fear, in the eyes of all our neighbors. We see it in our mosques, where we are forced to continually hold Know Your Rights workshops, not as a formality, but because our people are genuinely afraid of what's to come. Parents are afraid to drop off their children to schools. The elderly are afraid to come to our mosques to attend prayers. And community members are afraid that one knock on the door could cause someone to disappear, as we've heard in previous testimonies. That fear has only intensified since one of our very own, LaCotte, Cordelia, and Patterson was brutally abducted by ICE months ago. And regardless of the legal details of her case, what our communities experience in this sudden removal of a person without warning, without explanation, it sends a chilling message. You are never truly safe here, no matter how much you have contributed to this community, no matter how long you have lived here. My parents have been here from 1971. The bills ahead of you today, dear committee members, A6308, A6309, and A6310, matter because they draw critical boundaries. They help ensure that our schools, our houses of worship, our hospitals, and our local institutions are not transformed into instruments of fear or surveillance. Our community knows surveillance all too well following the actions of 9/11 and previously after several world events. These bills, they will protect us. They will protect the trust that allows our communities to report crimes, to seek help, and to engage with government rather than hide from it. These bills are not about protecting criminals. I will repeat, they are not about protecting criminals. They are about protecting civil rights. They are about ensuring that New Jersey remains a place where people are judged by their actions, not by their faith, not by their names, and not by their immigration status. My parents came here as students. They helped build this country. Yet today, families like mine look at their children and wonder whether the America that welcomed us years back still exists today. I urge you to please pass 6308, 6309, 6310, and to send a clear message that New Jersey must not govern through fear, but through dignity, fairness, and justice for all. Thank you all for your time, your consideration, and your excellent leadership on these bills. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Ali Algera, and I'm here on behalf of CARE Action New Jersey, the civic engagement and policy arm of the Council on American Islamic Relations, the nation's largest Muslim civil rights organization. We are here today to state that CARE Action New Jersey strongly supports Assembly Bill A6308, the Safe Communities Act. At its core, the Safe Communities Act advances a simple but powerful principle. Everyone in New Jersey deserves equal dignity, safety, and protection under the law, without exception and without selective enforcement. For the communities we serve, Muslims, immigrants, Black and brown communities, and other historically marginalized groups, this principle is not abstract. It is lived experience. Too often, vague standards, unchecked discretion, or structural gaps in policy disproportionately harms communities that already face bias, surveillance, or unequal treatment. These gaps erode trust in public institutions and create fear rather than safety. The Safe Communities Act moves New Jersey in the opposite direction, toward clarity, fairness, and accountability. From CARE Action's perspective, this bill matters for three key reasons. First, it strengthens civil rights protections. The Safe Communities Act reinforces the idea that laws and policies must be applied evenly and transparently, particularly for communities that have historically borne the brunt of discriminatory practices. Second, it promotes public trust in community safety. When people believe the system treats them fairly, they are more likely to engage, cooperate, and participate fully in civic life. Fairness is not a threat to public safety, it is a prerequisite for it. Third, it reflects New Jersey's values. Our state has long positioned itself as a leader in protecting civil rights and standing up for vulnerable communities. Supporting the Safe Communities Act affirms that commitment. In that same spirit, CARE Action New Jersey also supports Assembly Bill A6309, the Privacy Protection Act, and Assembly Bill A6310, the Immigrant Trust Directive. Together with the Safe Communities Act, these bills form a cohesive, values-driven framework that protects personal privacy, limits unnecessary data sharing, and ensures immigrant communities can interact with public institutions without fear, intimidation, and retaliation. At a time when many communities feel targeted or politically marginalized, these bills send a clear message. The law in New Jersey must protect people, not single them out, intimidate them, or leave them vulnerable to unequal treatment. On behalf of Care Action New Jersey and the over 300,000 Muslim New Jersey residents we represent across the state, we respectfully urge this committee to advance the Safe Communities Act along with the Privacy Protection Act and the Immigrant Trust Directive. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Assembly Committee. My name is Helena Twan, and I serve as the Civic Engagement and Advocacy Manager at the Palestinian American Community Center here in New Jersey. The last 2 years, I have had the honor of serving families across the state. The community center I work for has members in 37 of the 40 districts here in New Jersey. And through our coalition work, we have partnered with some of the most integrity-driven and compassionate community leaders in New Jersey. The elected officials in this room today are a reflection of our shared urgency to protect immigrants and reduce fear. And that is the responsibility before you now. As an immigrant community, and through the hardworking people in our community, PAC was awarded by the governor for our efforts during COVID and our ability to feed and supply over 1,000 families locally. That's just a small piece of what we were able to do. Those are the impacts of having immigrants in our state. Last month, I received a phone call I will never forget. A young woman was hysterically sobbing. Her fiance had just been detained after ICE, was called on him at work. She was frantic, searching for legal help while her mother stood beside her, watching her daughter's future fall apart. One phone call dismantled their lives, fueled by propaganda. This is what happens when our systems allow fear, retaliation, and bias to determine who is safe. Bills A6, 308 through A6310 are not radical, they are responsible. They ensure that New Jersey resources are used to protect residents, not funnel them into the portion pipelines, a pipeline that forces human beings into unlivable conditions, that warehouses people who came here seeking for refuge, that treat families as if they're disposable. We were talking about parents sleeping in cold rooms, children separated from people who love them, people processed like inventory instead of human beings. We are all from a bloodline of immigrants. We are all people, we all have families that we love, we all want safety and security. Our very own LaCaw Carita from Patterson, New Jersey, has been stuck in detention for close to a year now and held in Texas away from loved ones. She's going to probably be spending Ramadan there, and her religious practices are not going to be respected. When we allow that to continue, we are not defending our values, we are abandoning them. We cannot claim to be warding off cruelty while becoming the monsters that we say we stand against. New Jersey was built by immigrants. Advancing these bills tells families they belong here and that this state will not let hate dictate who deserves safety. I respectfully urge you to advance bills A6308 through A6310 and stand with the families who call New Jersey home. There is no opposition here, and we are on the same team. So please pass these bills. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Charlene Walker, and I serve as the Executive Director of Faith New Jersey, a statewide, faith-rooted power-building vehicle for people of faith and shared values across all 21 counties. We are multiracial, new Americans, and people whose families have been here for generations. We're just as impacted and working class, and at the end of the day, we are New Jerseyans, architects of our own destiny, building the world we deserve, rooted in the belief that every child of God has inherent worth and dignity. Freedom means being able to show up for your life, your family, and your community without hesitation. And the most New Jersey thing we can be a person who deeply loves thy neighbor. And that's what these bills do. A6308, A6309, and A310 are about protecting our freedom to live our values in real life. A6308 protects sensitive locations so people can access school, worship, care, shelter, and court without being deterred. A309 protects, 6309 protects privacy for services, so they don't become surveillance and families can seek support without exposure. And A6310 strengthens trust so local systems can do their jobs and people can seek help without hesitation. Let me be clear. If people are afraid to walk into school, a clinic, a house of worship, or a courthouse, we do not have real freedom in New Jersey. If families must calculate risk before seeking care, counsel, or community, then our systems are failing. And when personal information is collected and shared in ways that leave families exposed, services become surveillance, fear and hesitation do not build strong communities, trust does. And this is not theoretical. Look around this room. It is full. It is diverse. It would not look like this if there was no proof. People do not leave work, travel here, and testify about an imaginary harm. They're here because the harm is real. Just yesterday, I got a frantic call from a friend. A young couple she loves, a couple from Brazil, was pulled from their car and separated from their children ages 1 and 5. She was called to pick up those babies from a warehouse in North. 2 parents disappeared from their children's lives in an instant. And it makes me ask, why? Was their license plate scanned? Was DMV data shared? When people get a license in good faith, do they not have the same freedom to move through public life as everyone else? I may not know every detail of that moment, but I know this. Across this country, data is being shared and weaponized, and families are paying the price. Our community is now caring for those children, while their parents are being sent to Brazil, a family that belongs here. Chairwoman, I have heard you say you want more proof that these realities are real. With respect, you don't get to ask for proof while dismissing the people living the reality. You don't get to use if you want data, put the provisions to collect it. If you won't believe the people and won't require the information you say you need, then it is time to ask whether this body is meeting its responsibility. In closing, I have also heard concerns about the federal law enforcement. That is not your job. Your job is to make sure that agencies under your purview can do theirs clearly, consistently, and with accountability. These bills make it easier. They help schools educate, hospitals heal, houses of worship serve, and local systems respond to emergencies without fear or confusion. Certain politicians try to divide us by race, where we come from, and what language we speak, so we don't unite the schools, the housing, and care we all need. We refuse scapegoating and division. We choose solidarity because our faith demands it. And when boundaries are clear, trust grows. When trust grows, participation grows. Our vision is a New Jersey where every family can worship, learn, heal, seek help, and live with dignity because everyone belongs. We cannot claim to be proud New Jersey residents if this body does not affirm its responsibility to care for all who live here. When government fails one community, it fails all of us.
Because I'm the sponsor of the bill. So, Assemblywoman Flynn, I think, is who you were asking about.
Yes.
In any event, move on. Unless anybody has questions? No? Okay. Thank you. If we can again keep it to a 3-minute minimum, we still have lots of more testimony. Next up is Ryan Bilski, Farnaz Shemi, Deb Landry from Cooper River Indivisible, Mario Ramos from Climate Revolution Action Network, and we can also have Anna Kuki Rivera. Latino Action.
Cookie.
Thank you. Thank you. Chairwoman Park, Vice Chairwoman Murphy, and members of this committee, Assemblyman Gabriel Rodriguez. Good afternoon. My name is Ana Cookie Rivera, and I'm here today on behalf of the Latino Action Network. I'm actually a founding member of the C4, Latino Action Network, which is a statewide coalition committed to equity, dignity, and justice for all New Jerseyans, regardless of race, ethnicity, or immigration status. LAN strongly supports A6310 along with its companion bills A6308 and A6309. These bills reflect the values of our network. Our network has championed over more than a decade, protecting families, upholding constitutional rights, and ensuring that no one is treated as disposable because of their immigration status. A6310 is especially critical. It ensures that no one is stopped, questioned, or detained based solely on a perceived immigration status. This bill strengthens trust between immigrant communities and public institutions, trust that is essential for public safety, education, and health. When people fear that seeking help could lead to their detention or deportation, entire communities suffer. We've seen children miss school, patients avoid medical care, and families refuse to call 911, even and especially in emergencies. LAN also supports A6308 and A6309 because they provide clear protections for sensitive locations and safeguard personal data from unnecessary collection and misuse. These bills are not just about immigrants. They're about protecting all New Jerseyans from racial profiling, from surveillance, and from fear-based governance. Today, these bills respond to the urgent realities facing our communities. In 2025 alone, New Jersey has seen a 68% increase in ICE detentions and the reopening of the infamous or famous Delaney Hall. Immigrant families are being torn apart and fear is spreading. Fear is everywhere, from classrooms to clinics to congregations. These bills offer a path forward rooted in fairness, transparency, and care. LAN urges this committee to vote yes on A6310, A6308, and A6309. Every day these bills are delayed, families are forced to choose between safety and survival. Let us please choose dignity, justice, and protect our communities. I am because we are. We are all in this together. We are discussing humankind. Can we please just try to be both? Thank you. Assemblywoman person, thank you for your questions. I appreciate them because, well, even though you're calling yourself a Debbie Downer, it tells me you're at least trying to get this right. And I thank you. That's me talking personally now, but thank you.
Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and honorable members of the Assembly, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm here in support of our immigrant friends who live in communities all across New Jersey. I'm a member of Cooper River Indivisible, which is a South Jersey activist organization that does many things, one of which is to support immigrants and their families in concrete ways and symbolic ways. Today I'm going to be talking about the symbolic way. One of the things that we have done, we have started making something called embracelets, which I have attached here. And bracelets are basically friendship bracelets that were designed originally to honor and remember people who have been kidnapped, detained, and or deported by the Trump administration while denying them due process. Each bracelet was made with love to display the name of a person affected by this. They serve as a concrete way, though, to support immigrants because we raise funds with them to support immigrants and their families. And each bracelet has the name of a person, and we ask people who take a bracelet to keep that person's name in their heart and spread the word about their plight to others. But the bracelets we brought today, and we have 120 of them for the 120 legislators here, are a little bit different. They don't display the name of a person. Rather, each one bears the name of a role of a person in our community who's impacted by the anti-immigrant narrative cultivated by the current administration. Your bracelet might say manager, nurse, construction worker, mayor, teacher, clerk, neighbor, any one of 120 different roles, because we made a unique bracelet for the 120 legislators. And please note that 50 of these bracelets were made by high school students who are members of a social justice club in South Jersey who also really wanted to support our immigrant families. So I'm here today to remind everyone of how deeply immigrants are entwined in all of our lives and the holes that they leave behind in the fabric of our communities when they are not allowed to live their lives. We ask that you wear this bracelet to remind you of all the different people in our communities, the teacher whose students don't come to school, the construction worker who can't get the job done because some of her crew didn't show up to work, the nurse whose patient load has become unmanageable, the manager who opens the restaurant late because due to fear, people aren't coming out to eat like they used to, the neighbor who worries about a dear friend who's lived on the same street for 20 years. It's this dear friend who has always brought people soup when they're ill, shoveled people's sidewalks during a snowstorm, and made sure that the neighborhood kids made it safely across the street. The people who make up our remarkable New Jersey communities depend on each other. Friendships have formed, businesses have thrived, professionals have learned from one another. So what happens to one impacts everyone. And in that spirit, please wear this bracelet and please pass the immigrant protection bills. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Mario Ramos. I live in Elizabeth, New Jersey. I'm a member of Climate Revolution Action Network, and I'm proud to be here today as a New Jersey resident and as a very member of our community. I'm here in strong support of A6310, A6309, and A6308, because these bills are about something very basic, where people feel safe enough to live their lives, take care of their families, and ask for help when they need it. In Elizabeth, immigrant families are everywhere. We are your neighbors, your coworkers, your classmates, and your patients. But fear is a constant part of daily life. Fear of being questioned, fear of data being shared, fear of showing up in places that should be safe. Since heightened immigration enforcement has taken place, I've seen families afraid to leave their homes or go to work. I know people who think twice before calling 911. That fear does not make anyone safer. It makes things worse. A6310 matters because trust between immigrant communities and law enforcement is essential. When people are afraid that any interaction could lead to immigration consequences, crimes go unreported, and communities become less safe for everyone. A6309 matters because privacy matters. There is no reason for agencies or healthcare facilities to collect immigration status when it is not necessary. When people believe that personal information can be shared or misused, they stop accessing care and services. A6308 matters because sensitive locations should actually be safe. Schools, hospitals, courthouses, work, and social service offices should never be places where people feel watched or threatened. I want to be clear about what is at stake if these bills do not pass. Fear will continue to shape decisions, kids will miss school, people will delay medical care, families will stay silent instead of asking for help. And I respectfully urge this community to vote yes on these bills. Passing these bills tells immigrant communities that New Jersey values safety, dignity, and trust. Thank you for your time.
Sorry, I was called as next in the other room, so I just realized, oh, you're all together.
What is your name?
Brian Bilski. You ready? Okay, so yeah, I'm a well-informed, concerned citizen, basically supporting all three in order to keep our community safe.
Can you turn on your mic and then
also
is Anna?
Sorry. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, so basically I'm a well-informed, concerned citizen who supports all three in the package to keep our community safe, and I could share that I've heard personal stories of everything shared so far, from business owners and business districts to the trauma of losing someone or returning from detention. But today I just thought, why don't we just call out this entire farce? First of all, ICE's mission says they're going after the worst of the worst, and they include murderers, rapists, and pedophiles. So how are they doing to date? Well, they're having a hard time recruiting, so they dropped their standards. And we've got people who can't pass background checks, can't do 15 push-ups, can't run a mile and a half in 15 minutes, and can't pass an open book exam. All right? So the latest data to date, these people in detention, we have 3.1% with criminal convictions, and that's down from the data in the summer before the government shutdown. So that means their monthly averages are getting worse. 3% have a criminal conviction, and once in detention, only 6% are identified as a high threat risk, while 76% have no threat level whatsoever. And you can read the reporting, but you can also download the data from the ICE website, which I do, and I'm happy that it matches the reporting. So they got rid of due process. The fact that we have a population that doesn't realize due process for all is the only way due process works for one. That's not even law 101, it's high school, but whatever. So due process would have protected these numbers. What do we see in 2026? Well, they're going to increase their quotas. So we need more arrests and detainees, which only means those numbers are going to get worse because they're obviously not finding the worst and the worst. The FBI, I'm sure you're aware, issued a thing recently where they said, they urge ICE agents to identify themselves because of the increasing numbers of fraud or imposters doing robberies, sexual assault, and kidnapping. And I can tell you personally, I was with someone filming an ICE arrest. 4 vehicles, 8 agents, an absolute mess in the middle of the street with the rush hour traffic, in the middle of arrest for one person. And the one guy who engaged for a little bit, in the end, when we're saying, can we have your badge number, says, he almost in a moment of candor glances at the other guy and goes, I don't have a badge number. And at that point, they got worried and they split and they left the person they're supposedly taking off the street. Was that my timer?
Yes.
So, and the fact that they want more locations for private prisons, so that's calling out the entire farce. Please pass all 3. Keep our citizens.
Next, if we can have Colleen Shabazz from Atlantic City Council, Allison Nolan, who volunteer Lawyers of Justice, Peter Chen from New Jersey Policy Perspective, Farhana Shamim, not here. She doesn't. And if we can have Tiffany Broderick. And for those of you who are in different rooms, there is some room in the main committee room, so if you can come in, that would be also helpful.
Good afternoon. Chairperson Park and Vice Chair Murphy and some judiciary members. Let me say, I came from Atlantic City today as an elected official and also in my other role, which dovetails in this particular concern, as president of the Atlantic City branch of the ACP. I am here because the treatment of our brothers and sisters in the immigrant community by the overzealous and I believe extra legal activities of ICE is not only a civil rights and a social justice issue, I would suggest that it's a public policy issue. So I would encourage this committee to report out A6308, A6309, A6310, not only because it will send a tremendous symbolic message to every community in the state of New Jersey, but because it protects our basic rights. I particularly associate myself with the remarks of Claudia. I sat next to her in the audience. I did not know how powerful her statement was and how it really speaks to some of the same things my constituents have been telling me in Atlantic City. And I think that we cannot have a situation in our state where our citizens have to have a procedure. And this is what countless members of my constituents have said. They said, Councilman, when we go out now, we have to make sure that we have our purse or our wallet. We have to make sure that we have our phone. We have to make sure that we have our laptop or whatever they have to go to their place of business or their house of worship. But we have to make sure that we have our citizenship papers and our passport. I would suggest, respectfully, as an elected official, that cannot stand in New Jersey. We cannot have our citizens who have to have as a practice, an everyday practice, that they have to take their papers with them. That should not happen. That cannot happen. And as a civil rights and social justice statement, New Jersey can't stand for that. And I would encourage you to pass this whole package of bills. I would also like to report to you, and I have a package I'll hand out for the whole committee, to tell you that our city council in Atlantic City, we have 9 members. We have 6 that happen to be Democrats. We have 3 that happen to be Republicans. We passed a resolution 908 that I introduced, but the whole council adopted it, and we passed it unanimously. And the resolution in the city of Atlantic City says condemning overzealous immigration enforcement practice and affirming support for law-abiding members of the immigrant community.
Thank you. There are seats, so if everyone can sit down, that would be very helpful, instead of standing in the back, if you guys can find seats. Thank you. There are more people in the hallway. There are seats on the right, on my right. If you guys can please have a seat. Next.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Park and esteemed members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Allison Nolan, and I'm a managing attorney with Volunteer Lawyers for Justice. I'm here to express VLJ's strong support of A6308, A6309, and A6310 that make up this immigrant protection package. This critical legislation will help ensure that all New Jersey residents can live, work, and seek help in their communities without fear. VLJ is a nonprofit legal services organization dedicated to ensuring access to justice for people experiencing poverty throughout New Jersey. We do this work in collaboration with volunteer attorneys from law firms and corporations. Every day, we serve low-income individuals and families, including immigrants, who are survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, and other serious crimes. Through this work, we see firsthand how fear of immigration enforcement prevents people from reporting crimes, seeking protection, and accessing health care, or enrolling their children in school. This fear harms not only immigrant communities, but the safety and well-being of all New Jersey residents. Immigrant women and children are especially at risk of abuse due to language barriers, economic dependence, and limited access to information about supports. As a result, many survivors remain trapped in dangerous situations, afraid that reaching out to law enforcement or service providers will place themselves or their families at risk. Courts and researchers have long recognized that entangling local systems with federal immigration enforcement undermines public safety. When reporting a crime could lead to deportation, survivors and witnesses are less likely to come forward, allowing abusers to act with impunity. Data confirms this reality. In a national survey of advocates working with immigrant survivors of domestic or sexual violence, 76% reported that their clients feared contacting police, and more than half reported survivors dropped civil or criminal cases due to immigration concerns. Jurisdictions with strong community trust policies have been shown to experience lower rates of domestic homicide. Communities that with strong community trust policies have been shown to experience lower rates of domestic homicide against Hispanic women, underscoring the life-saving impact of these protections. In my own practice, I focus on representing tenants facing eviction, and I hear from tenants worried about going to court or accessing any local resources. This package of immigration protection bills are a critical step towards rebuilding trust between immigrant communities and state and local government. By clearly limiting state and local involvement in federal civil immigration enforcement, these bills reinforce New Jersey's commitment to fairness, due process, and equal protection under the law. It ensures that local resources are being used to promote public safety and community well-being. These bills will also significantly strengthen access to justice. For these reasons, we strongly urge that you pass these immigrant protection bills. Thank you for your leadership and your continued commitment to protecting the safety, dignity, and the rights of all New Jersey residents. Thank you.
Good afternoon, committee. I just thank you for being here. Two of my colleagues asked that I speak on their behalf that had to leave. My name is Reverend Eric Cussman. I represent St. Bartholomew Lutheran Church in the great city of Trenton. Right? And also I'm part of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. It's one of the largest denominations in America. I speak before you as an eyewitness, but before I want to say anything, I'm going to address this to the Councilwoman Flynn, I believe, when she said she doesn't see.
I'm never a councilwoman.
I mean, committee woman, I apologize.
One of those one spot that's here.
Committee woman, I apologize. But as of known, documented fact, local law enforcement do work with ICE, especially 10 minutes down the street from here. I'll point out specifically Sergeant Miles. I've spoken with Director Wilson. I've spoken with Mayor Rigostoria. Officers take money from ICE to work with ICE. This is a known fact. They put ads out on Telemundo, Univision, Fox TV stations. They put ads out there for law enforcement to work with them. If you don't believe me, just stay up 1 o'clock in the morning and see all the ads yourself. Two, my community's living in dire fear. I work with a great community that's very diverse, from whether it's Haitian, Somalian, Guatemalan, but everybody's living in fear. I run a food ministry that went up by numbers 300% since Trump took office. People live in fear. When Trump was elected, people live in fear. I had 30 families hiding outside my church because they thought they were going to be deported. Is that okay with you? So I'm going to ask you directly. See, you don't have to. Because, Lutheran theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer said silence in the face of evil is evil itself, and not to act is to act.
I'll ask questions. Ask a question. Can you just keep it on the bills, please?
Yes. So the community is living in fear. We're scratching to get resources to continue to feed folks. And these aren't criminals, these aren't rapists, these are mothers with children. And that's all I see in my communities, mothers and children coming to food. We're talking 300, 400 people a week. Is that okay? I believe it is not. I want to work myself out of a job. I don't need to have a food pantry. I want everybody to be prosperous and succeed. I want, no matter how you are defined, that there is justice for all, like when we say the Pledge of Allegiance. But what does that all mean to the committee? What does that all mean to the state of New Jersey? Is that all meaning all, or only a select few? When ICE is out patrolling the streets, how come they're only attacking black and brown bodies? I've never seen them get the Polish people on anybody. These are just questions I have to ask, since you are the elected officials. As a pastor of a faith leader in where your state house is, I've seen the dire effects of people being persecuted night and day. I get calls 3-5 times a day of families. But I'm not going to go over my time. Thank you.
Thank you all for your testimony. You brought up an issue that's saying, and that's what I need. You can't just enact laws based on anecdotal information and views like facts. That's why I ask those questions. Because if things like this happen, that should be covered. It should be out there in the public, and everyone should know about it. And appropriate action should be taken. So if you're telling me that there's ads on the news, on the TV, and with local law enforcement working with ICE in a way that's not appropriate by our federal guidelines, I'd like to know that. If that's the case, that's news to me.
And I even gave you an officer's name that's working with ICE. Sergeant Miles, Trenton.
Yeah, because that would be contrary to the Attorney General guidelines, which brings me to the next point. Like, you could pass a law, and I don't even know if the Attorney General guidelines doesn't have an impact. I don't know if this would either. That's the problem. The problem is we're not addressing these issues.
So, I understand, but how long do we let things go by until we turn into the Fourth Reich? That's what I'm trying to ask you. That's all I got.
Again.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for your testimony. Sorry to see you leave, brother. You mentioned a couple things. You had a client base and they feared going to court. What's the genesis of their fear?
So clients will fear going to court because they see on the news about immigration enforcement actions, and they don't necessarily know the difference between if it's happening at federal courts or state courts. Yeah.
Are they citizens?
I don't ask that as part of my representation. That is not a requirement for me to represent somebody, so it's not a question I ask.
I'm just trying to get. I keep hearing fear. I want to know the genesis of the fear. What's causing the fear? If you're a citizen, you go to court, you're supposed to get equal justice, right? If you're here as an alien, you go to court, you get equal justice, right? So what is it?
The fear is that they're going to go to court to be able to resolve their tenancy issue, and I represent tenants in landlord-tenant court. They have the right to pay the rent up until the day of trial, and actually now until lockout. So they can go and try to resolve their case. But if they're afraid that law enforcement is instead going to detain them or start deportation proceedings against them because they show up to enforce their rights, they're afraid.
So, in other words, either they're an American citizen or they're a legal resident of the United States.
They're human
and
beings. They're human.
Neither one of those cohorts are going to have a problem in the courts. So this is where you're losing here. Can you clarify?
No, we lost you.
Who's having the difficulty?
So
American citizens, legal aliens. So then the second question
As I mentioned, we don't ask about what their immigration status is, and so when they talk about their concern, I don't ask them what their status is, but I also have heard of people who were detained and were here legally, but were still detained anyway, and it takes time to clear that up, but no one wants to have that situation.
So is there another cohort you're not telling us, or is it just those two? In other words, American citizens, registered, legally registered aliens. Anybody else? Or is that what we're talking about?
Madam Chair, could I respond?
Sure.
Mr. Assemblyman, I am an elected official in Atlantic City.
Councilman, it's a pleasure to speak to you.
It's my pleasure to be here, sir. Let me respectfully respond, although you didn't ask me a question. With regard to the people who are my constituents, who have told me of the new practice that they have instituted because of the situation of ICE, of course I wouldn't identify them, but the people, the constituents in my ward, I'm representing the 3rd ward in the city of Atlantic City, they are not only citizens, they are homeowners, they are taxpayers, they're working class people. And again, I'm not going to say their names, but all of the people that have said this to me, they are, again, homeowners, taxpayers, registered voters, and citizens in America and New Jersey. And they are fearful, and they have adopted a practice. They're not just fearful. This is not just theater or politics. They have adopted a practice of when they go out, taking their papers, because they see the unregulated way that ICE is operating, and this is their way to try to protect themselves.
Councilman, look, you and I, let's be honest.
Yeah.
When I go out of my house every morning, I put my wallet in my pocket, I put my keys in my pocket.
But Mr. Assemblyman, you don't take your passport. Wait a minute, Mr. Assemblyman, I do. I have my wallet in my pocket, and I take my key. But here's the difference, and I'm glad you brought that point up. That's a good point. We all do that. We all search for our keys, make sure we have our laptop, make sure we have our phones, we make sure we have our wallets. We do that. But the difference is, you don't take your passport. You don't take your citizenship. That's the difference. And if you do take your passport, you don't take it. Wait a minute. Let me finish, sir. If you do take your passport, you're not taking your passport. You're not taking your passport for fear that you're going to be detained or deported. You are taking your passport. That's a totally different.
Let's everybody stay on the bill. Still have
So,
another one.
I'm sorry. That's why I supported the bill. That's why I came from Atlantic City to say 6308, 6309, 6310. In my opinion, will help our citizens.
Well, Councilman, thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank
and I just want to compliment you on the improvements in Atlantic City as well.
Thank you,
And
Senator.
recently,
Thank
that's to your credit.
Let me just add this for 130 seconds why this is important in another way, and I'm glad you said that. Atlantic City, in my opinion, is not only the playground of the world, it is a resort that has a tremendous economic impact on the state of New Jersey. I would respectfully suggest to this committee and to everyone here that if we have a situation, it's January now, obviously, but it's going to be summer in a minute. If we have a situation in Atlantic City where ICE agents run unchecked like they have done, I suggest, and I would respectfully think we need to look at this, that we put a chilling effect on tourism in Atlantic City. Who wants to come to a place where it's uncertain how people are going to respond, where it's uncertain on the level of attention they're going to get, because this is a detriment to our workers in the casinos? I would suggest there's an economic factor to consider about ICE running unchecked in Atlantic City, all across the state, but particularly in Atlantic City.
I would recommend that we balance that with the quotient of safety. So we want to
Absolutely.
keep economics and safety and balance them, because people aren't going to come to the city if they don't feel safe.
Well, I'm trying to stop talking. Atlantic City is safe, and Atlantic City is safe because the government and the police work together. I'm sorry. I apologize, Madam Chair.
Just a quick question. The supremacy clause in the Constitution, do you think that's going to interfere with these bills?
No.
That's not my area of expertise. I'm hearing no from other people. That's not something.
Well, the supremacy clause has.
You could speak about that after.
1 second, please.
Hey, Robert, we gotta go.
justified under the 10th Amendment to the same Constitution.
Okay. Can we get the next panel, please? We have Mohammed Emanet, Nicole Morella, Megan Chambers, and Kate Gianna.
What was the last name?
The last name is Kate Gianna.
I'm right here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Megan Chambers. I'm here to speak in favor of Assembly Bill 6308, 6309, and 6310. Thank you to the chair and to the deputy chair for having us here today. I'm speaking on behalf of a labor union, the Laundry Distribution and Food Service Joint Board of Workers United, SEIU. And also in support of this legislation is the SEIU New Jersey State Council, which is a combination of tens of thousands of workers and SEIU affiliates across New Jersey. I am the president of the State Council as well. These bills are critical, and they're the right thing to do for all the reasons you've heard today. Like you, I've been here since the beginning. I want to add some pieces that haven't gotten as much emphasis. Look, New Jersey is a state where immigrants make up a very substantial portion of the workforce. They are vital. They are essential and vital to the success of businesses all over this state. They are essential and vital to the functioning of important institutions that provide care all over this state. They are essential and vital, caring for young children, sometimes in homes, or sick folks or elderly folks, sometimes in homes, enabling people to go to work all over this state. 1 in 4 workers in New Jersey is an immigrant. And then that percentage is much higher when you look at essential work, the kind of workers who were not permitted to work from home during the pandemic because the state could not function without them. To damage, we're talking about preventing damage to the New Jersey economy. And it is vital that these 3 bills be passed. And immigrants are so critical to the functioning of this state. It is also, should be said, that it is only their due that their contributions be recognized, that their privacy be respected, and that they be properly defended from violations of their due process that are a shame to all of us. I applaud Assemblywoman Park for introducing 2 of these bills, and also Assemblywoman Quijano, not on this committee, for introducing one of these bills. And we are wholeheartedly in support of all 3 of them, and we ask that you please pass all of them. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify before you this afternoon. My name is Nicole Morella. I'm co-executive director of the New Jersey Coalition to End Domestic Violence. The coalition is a membership of over 33 domestic violence and culturally specific organizations serving survivors in every one of our 21 counties. Victims and survivors of domestic violence must be able to trust that they can access and receive the services they need without fear of being targeted, reported, having their information shared with immigration authorities, and possibly deported and separated from their family. As we heard here today, without this legislation, the isolation that so many communities are already experiencing is just going to continue to be magnified. And unfortunately, domestic violence feeds off of isolation. Limiting the places and services a survivor can safely access only exacerbates the isolation that the survivor is experiencing. It emboldens the abuser, and it increases the control that the abuser has over the partner, putting the victim in further danger. Victims and survivors should be able to turn to their church, their healthcare provider, their children's school, or their local domestic violence provider without fear of being targeted by ICE, reported, or deported. Over the last year, we have seen the chilling effect, fear and confusion that federal executive orders, lack of information, and misinformation in the public is causing survivors, advocates, and our providers themselves. The model policy that would be required by the introduction of this legislation would be helpful and instrumental for our providers to better understand their rights, how to enforce their rights, the survivors' rights that they're working with, and to ensure that we're protecting their privacy and giving them the opportunity to access the services they need confidentially. And if I could just briefly speak also on 6310 as well. I just wanted to add, I know previous colleagues spoke about the National Alliance for Immigrant Survivors. And just want to echo that we are seeing the same thing in New Jersey. They reported 75% of respondents reported that immigrant survivors are fearful of police, and we are hearing this from programs across the state. Survivors have concerns with being arrested, detained, or deported, whether going to the police department or the courthouse. They're concerned about their private information being shared between agencies, and particularly with federal law enforcement agencies. They're being warned by their own community and family members to not report to the police. And they're even fearful of just being in public places. An example of this is we heard from one program. They run, as many of our programs do, regular support groups every week, many of them. And they had a group where no one showed up. And when they reached out to survivors in that group, they found that there was police activity on their street. It was likely related to a car accident, a traffic violation, but just the mere presence of having law enforcement there put them in that much fear to not even access the services. And while, yes, they weren't going to the police to report, but if they're not even willing to access the services on the street where there's a police presence, they're not going to walk into a police department, they're not going to walk into a courthouse and get the services that they desperately need. And we know domestic violence doesn't just impact that adult victim, it impacts the children, the family, the community, and law enforcement. We need this legislature to pass these bills.
It's an honor to be here among so many people with so much strength and moral clarity. Solidarity forever. Thank you, Chairwoman Park and honorable assembly members of the committee for the opportunity to speak. My name is Kate Triviano, and I serve as Deputy Mayor of Red Bank. I serve on the Advisory Board of American Friends Service Committee's New Jersey Immigrant Rights Program, and I served as a first responder in Red Bank as a volunteer firefighter. I want to start with what loops in my mind as one of my worst fears. In June in Laverne, Tennessee, a 6-month-old baby stopped breathing and subsequently died when the caretaker hesitated to call 911, fearing that a call for help could result in their deportation. After the baby's death, the police chief of Laverne said, quote, "If they are a victim or a witness, we want them to call. We need them." He said, quote, "That fear is real. And yes, it does concern me, because when it comes down to public safety, we need people to inform the police, to cooperate with the police." He then recognized the reality for states not protected by policies like our Immigrant Trust Directive, admitting that, quote, "If we become aware of someone's immigration status, we are required to notify ICE." Anyone can see that what he is asking for is impossible. He is asking private residents to triage, to weigh a life against deportation, to decide if in their most vulnerable moment, which danger is worse. That is not public safety. That is the breakdown of public order. ICE is not a distant idea to us in Red Bank. Their looming presence, their sudden trauma-charged visits are a part of our lives, Vicki Flint. Yes. Thank you. For 7 years, responding and navigating tragic aftermaths has been my responsibility as a public servant. 8 weeks ago, I responded to a rapid response call a few blocks from my home, from my house. ICE agents chased a man down on his bicycle and detained him. They wore FBI vests. They wore no identification. They produced no warrant and provided no explanation for their presence. And I asked, again and again. The agent was going to discard the resident's belongings. We told him we are his neighbors, and we convinced the agent to hand them over. But when we asked for his name, the agent slammed the car door and drove away. I walked his bike home with his backpack on my back. He was young, and I kept picturing his face, and I still do. Inside his bag, I found a single item, a work shirt for a local Red Bank salad place. Nothing dangerous, nothing criminal. He had simply been on his way to work. I called the resident's boss to explain what had happened and to identify the man to connect him to legal support. The call worked, yet what stays with me are the words his boss kept repeating. He was so good. He never did anything wrong. Everybody knows he was good. It wasn't the first time I was told a good man had been taken from my people and my town, but it was the first time this business owner realized that people with no criminal records are being taken. And this part can be hard for me too, every single time I go through this. Pictures of the agents taking our resident spread quickly online, and the question, like sick clockwork, resurfaced. Were the Red Bank police involved in taking this man the community deems as good? Rumors that impact scores of residents' safety are extremely dangerous, so every single time we respond clearly and immediately. No, the Red Bank police had zero involvement. They follow the Immigrant Trust Directive. They are not allowed to coordinate with ICE. We go out and assure residents everywhere we can reach them, the Catholic Church, the schools, the Pentecostal Church, the businesses, all houses of worship, and myself, the chiefs of police, our community organizers, we go and tell them. I want you to imagine if we could not tell them that anymore.
Thank you.
If we could not go and tell them that anymore. That's what the directive does. It must be codified. We cannot go back to all of our community partners and say, just kidding, it doesn't exist anymore. Thank you.
Hello guys, thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify today. My name is Mohammed Eminetz. I am representing my family, the Eminetz family, in Jersey Kebab of South Jersey. As many of you might know, we had an ICE raid at our restaurants where my parents were picked up on the prejudice that they just had to fill out some extra paperwork at the office, and guys heavily armored in U.S. Marshals entered our restaurant at 11 a.m. exactly when we opened our doors for business alongside of our customers, and picked up my parents within 2 minutes, and afterwards my mother was locked up at New Brunswick for about 15 days awaiting a bond hearing after we didn't receive any information about her whereabouts for about 3-4 days after that being picked up. We came to this country legally, as my father was a religious worker at Imam, which is basically a pastor for our religion, and he was released with an ankle monitor that same night that he was picked up, to where in our mosque he would give lectures to about 1,000 people every week wearing an ankle bracelet on his ankle, and everybody in the community was terrorized by this event afterwards. We had green card cases pending the entire time, and all those cases are now being upheld as we have all been placed in deportation hearings. I myself, as a 26-year-old, have been in a green card pending case, which then got approved earlier last year, but they are still holding my green card, and I am still in a deportation hearing for the last 5 years, as I was picked up myself as a 21-year-old once I was released from my parents' green card case. And at this moment, still as a 26-year-old, living in America for about 18 years, I've never had a social security number. I've never had any benefits at all whatsoever. If we weren't able to put together with a tax ID number at LLC to where we can open up our own restaurant and make a living, I would not be able to make a living to support my United States citizen wife or my United States citizen children that I have. And because of that, we are still struggling at this very moment. And all these bills that are on the table right now have affected our life literally with every experience that we possibly could have had. And my father, who was a PhD holder, a doctor's degree holder in history, that had written out more than 10 books and articles in Turkey, is still behind the grill flipping burgers 12, 13 hours a day because our green card will not just be granted because they have all places in deportation orders now. And we're still battling this battle every single day. We show up to our restaurant thinking, what if it happens again? And I have siblings at home that are United States citizens that are dealing with autism, and they have to watch their parents go through this with being a part of our community and me being raised in that community. Our community really saw the battle come to the front. And we're in the front lines of it, and we continue to fight it every single day. So I am an example, sir. I am a victim, and I've lived through it all my life, and I continue to live through it. You guys have asked for an example, and it is sitting in front of you right now. So I just wanted to ask, what is the criteria from now on to becoming a green card holder or an American citizen? Because we try our best to be the best person we can possibly be in our community and to help everybody as much as we possibly can. And we're still being helped here. I consider myself an American. We've even named our restaurant Jersey Kebab because we're Jersey boys. And we love America. We love being in this nation. But we are now subjected to being sent to our country to which we have not been able to go in the last 18 years, because if we do leave the country, we're not allowed to be back here. And so I will
ask you a question, Susan, for pointing out.
Absolutely. Hi.
Thank you. Do you consider doxing an acceptable practice?
Who did I dox?
You mentioned in testimony that you put pictures of a police officer out on the internet.
I did not say that, sir. What I said was, oftentimes when there's ICE activity in any municipality, what tends to happen is people on the street witness it. It's in public. So people walking down, and usually oftentimes on Shrewsbury Avenue is where it takes place in Red Bank, which is a very main drag. Many people go there. A lot of our nonprofits actually are located there in Red Bank. So when people bear witness to this, it's traumatic. And as you know, they take pictures of it and they immediately put those pictures on the internet, which could be problematic for many reasons. One, they sit there on the internet for a long time, so people don't know when the incident took place, if it's still happening, not happening. And then people come to us with the questions as those local leaders. They say, when did it happen? Is it still happening? What's going on? It's one of the reasons, actually, that I go and I bear witness.
All right, well, that's great. I mean, so you yourself have never participated in that?
In posting pictures on the internet? Yes. No, but I would have every constitutional right to do so. The purpose of me showing up here today is that people do not bleed out, so that they do not have another baby die, so that people feel comfortable calling 911 in case of an emergency. As somebody who's been a first responder, who has worked closely with my police department, and who has served locally in office for 7 years, that is my main concern, and that is what drove me to come here today, is because immigrants, undocumented people, and mixed documented people all live in community together. And so safety for one is safety for all. And that is the main reason that I came here today.
So we have about another 60 slips. And so
Wait, my right.
So I just want to see the show of hands to see who needs to testify so that we can see.
Nobody. We could vote. Yeah. Vote.
Okay. So But I will read that into the record. Okay. Okay. So we have Peter Rosano from Casa de Don Pedro in favor. Ali Azar in favor. Engage action. And I do apologize if I do not pronounce her name correctly. Rosanna Rodriguez, Laundry Workers Center in favor. Obviously, these are all in favor until I say otherwise. Lee Goldberg, Reverend Sarah Lilia, Dr. Mary Goran from Rutgers, Amanda Dominguez from Rutgers, Peter Chen from New Jersey Policy Perspective, Tiffany Broderick from Resistencia en Acción, Lima Huang from PACC, Jeanette Moorcross, Kimberly Greiser, and Flip Construction Inc., and New Jersey Alliance Pro Immigrant Justice, Heather Hamilton Andrade from New Jersey Now, Ethan Boston from RAC-NJ, Victoria Martinez, La Casita del Esperanza, Andy Meisner, Voice for Justice Food Pantry, Dr. Norma Bao, Global Grace Health Mobile Clinic, Ocean County, Martha Friend, Cassie Holmes, the Reverend Giselle Coutillo, New Jersey Synod, Bridge of Peace Community Church, Gloria Guerra Ramirez, New Labor, John Zamboni, the Episcopal Diocese of New Jersey, Guy Trenton or Trenton. Citron, sorry. It's all good. Looks like a U, not an N. Okay, Mark Latata from North New Jersey Democratic Socialists of America, Jesse Saki from LCSW Social Worker, Charlene Guadir, Faith in New Jersey, Sarah Blaine, Religious Action Center, Ellen Whittle, Dire Emergency Hotline, Rabbi Amy Rubin, Rabbi Philip Baisley, Rabbi Ali Guider, Reverend Eric Guzman, Andre Berger, Movements, can't read that. Melissa Monahan, Council Member, Borough of Madison, Jessica Foley, CAT to Honor Worker Support, Erin Cruz Morales, League of Women Voters of New Jersey, Elizabeth Cohen, Princeton Council, Julie Moreno, American Families United, Amanda Dominguez, New Labor, Carl Schwartz, AFSCME, Local 2298, Catherine Hart, or Hunt, Peyton Peterson, Eyes on Ice Delaney Hall, Uwa Pava Acosta, from Educator East Orange, Rabbi Ethan Prosnick, RACNJ Temple Emmanuel Westfield, Sarah Blaine, RACNJ, New Jersey Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, Erin Kleinbaum, Faith in New Jersey, Antiquin, Johan Mora Valverde, Sven Parent Advocacy Network, Anna Marwell, 32JB, Fred Lee, New Jersey Consortium of Immigrant Children, Dolly Hernandez, Casa Freehold, Reverend Charles Laughlin, Reverend Annie Allen, Zach Zamboni, Justin Strickland, Hazel Apple White, ICC, Mayor Bob Cooley of Borough of Madison, Jill Lather, National Organization of Women, Jason Ajike, Alejandro Cordova, Enrique Arena Jr., Center for Family Services, Reverend Eric Guzman, Ashmel Huni, and then George Torres, Reverend Giselle Coutinho, Melissa Monahan, Bob Connolly, Mayor of Madison, Melissa Thomason, Kate Trigiano, Red Bank, Reverend Annie Allen, the Rutherford Congressional Church, Catherine Saster, First Friends of New Jersey, New York, Pastor Guzman, Teresa Shirley Summerhays, Voter Indivisible, Dr. Diane Herbert, Gretchen Seiberg, Linda Greenwood, Adrian Bishop, Diana Mejia, and I think, sorry. Oh, yeah. Valerie Hewitt Rurard, sorry, I pronounced that wrong. Nisha Thompson, Calandria Ortiz Resend, Jen Manacuso, Mariah Kinberg, Amanda DeFalco, John Asprey, Charlie Cractorell, Robert Ryu, Leah Morgan Anderson, Teresa Guzman, Nancy Miller, Ozeratsky, Natalia Gonzalez, James Ross Guzzo, Jen Modell, Jennifer Citron, Ronnie Whale, Randy Mordelbaum, Alexander Stevenson, County Executive Dan Benson, Mercer County, Heather Pierce, President of Rutgers Academic Facility Union, Cherie Rust, Dulce Cano, Morgan Gold, June Lewis, Carol Simon Levin, Genevieve O'Connor, Becky Gibbons, President Rutgers AAVP AFT, Lali Amari Versategui, Cynthia Snavely, Amy O'Connell, Gabrielle Rubenstein, Margaret Abrams, Leslie Brown, Mildred Torres, Miranda Kendrick, Diane Williams, Liliana Ventura, Linda Zippo, Maria Claudia Seidenstricker, Gabriella Duajek, Aaron Connor, Ellen Witt.
It's okay, we understand. A whole bunch of people want it.
Manal Patel, Reverend Charles Boyer, Philip Lubitz, Nancy Lawrence, Bridget Devane, Roy Burton, Melissa Furstenberg, Matthew Hirsch, Mayor Reese Foster, Jamie King, Francine Becker, NJDA, Edgar Aguto, and Lee Goldner. We have 3 slips in opposition. I don't know if they're either testify or not, but I will call the names. We have Chief Andrew Gagliano, Montville Police, opposed. I don't know if he's here to testify. Stacey Greenberg, United Progressive Democrats. Gwen Love, United Progressive Democrats, opposed. And Jackie Ramirez, NJBIA, opposed. So I don't know if anybody from that list wants to testify. Okay, we're going to do a motion to release all 3 bills. So if we can have a motion and a second, please.
On the motion to release bills A 6308, A 6309, and A 6310. Assembly independents like to open no for all 3. Assembly involved.
Thank you. The supremacy clause is part of the clause 2 that establishes that the Constitution, federal laws, and treaties made under the authority of the highest law in the land take precedence over conflicting state laws. This clause ensures that state courts are bound by federal law, reinforcing the authority of the federal government. This is not going to bear constitutional muster. And over and above that, Nobel laureate economist Milton Friedman once voted that the free immigration cannot coexist with a welfare state. A welfare state with open borders might turn into a haven for poor immigrants, which would place such a fiscal burden on the state that native-born voters would not feel sufficiently considered. For this reason, I'm voting no. Thank you.
I think the next subject is Chairwoman, may I say a few words? So I have a teenage daughter who's 22. Put me through hell. But she's so much nicer to me of late. I had reported in my committee when we passed a bill that stopped law enforcement from concealing their identity during arrests or detainment. And I shared a story I'm going to share today to pardon any repeat. I had an unpleasurable experience of receiving a call from my daughter, which rarely happens, and she's screaming into the phone that her boyfriend and her boyfriend's family were under siege. So it was close enough, I jumped in the car and raced over there. And this happened a handful of times. And in fact, they were under siege by people who were purporting to be federal agents. Wow. Some were in armored protective gear, some were just in sweaters and t-shirts and sneakers. Even I, as an Army veteran and a volunteer firefighter, that scared the crap out of me. And it did not feel like America any of those times, but I got invigorated to respond each and every time back. I don't even try to go too far. But when you see people purporting to be ICE, and to this day, I don't even know if it was ICE or any, or any hotel. They were not wearing uniforms. One or two did say police. I don't know why ICE would say police, but they did not have any warrants. They did not have probable cause.
They did not have a reasonable, articulable suspicion. There was no crime being committed. And that happened in quite a number of places just in my town alone. And when I called the police director, the county prosecutor, they knew nothing about it. They conducted themselves, and they actually were tyrants. And a little political irony here. My understanding of history, constitutional history, the first crafted amendment of the Constitution was in fact the Second Amendment that was to protect the citizenry from government tyrants first, and then tyrants from other states. So just a little side note there. But I almost felt that I needed to be armed against these federal agents to protect these families. And I will also note they continually, repeatedly visited businesses throughout. Now, I live in a very diverse town, very proud of it, probably the most diverse town, 28% white, 28% black, 29% from India, and then a mixture percentages. But 0 times did they go to white or Indian businesses. And that's where they're going. They're going to places where you're actually employed, actually working and producing. They're going to places where you eat, where you sleep. And they keep going back to the same places. And it seems to be racial, ethnic, process of cleansing, harassing. And one of the places happens to be the business in place that my daughter's boyfriend / fiance work and their family is. And you know, there are different immigration statuses or stati. And it's very difficult because if they were to catch any of them, they're all going to get arrested. And there's no due process. There's no Fourth Amendment. There's no Fifth Amendment. There's no Zealot. There's no 14th Amendment. There's no American what they're doing. And now, so I'm going to be a grandfather. And my granddaughter is going to be Spanish. I insist on it. Half Central American. My granddaughter will be spending time at these businesses in these houses. No doubt. I insist on that. And she will inevitably be subjected to this behavior. And unfortunately, this chapter of American courtesy and culture. I'll also note that I was in the U.S. Army. It was real weird. I was young and dumb. I was 18. Actually, I signed up at 17. When I went to basic training, about 25% of the soldiers in training with me did not speak English. They got the bus ride back, where I had to walk back 5 miles, but they actually went to English class as an extra part of their training. All but one was Spanish to English classes, but there was one Hebrew to English class. I found that interesting. But did you know that there are U.S. military veterans that get deported from America? There we go. Their citizenship or the green card or something happened. U.S. combat veterans. Now, I come from a long line of Army veterans. From 1914 on, every man in my family joined the U.S. Army, not as a requirement, but so we don't shame them. Never once did we ever anticipate that someone that we served with would get deported after serving our country so honorably. But that just goes to show you, from the cooks and mechanics to my granddaughter that's yet born, to U.S. Army veterans, no one is now safe. This can happen to you, it can happen to Joe Danielson, and it can happen to somebody and his family someday, and I hope it doesn't. But today, I woke up deep rooted in my faith. I'm not going to bring my religion into this building, but my faith worships many people, but in particular someone who I understand to have been born an anchor baby. He was born an immigrant. He was undocumented, and as an infant, he was an assailant that was chased so they could try to kill him. He then became a victim, a convict, and was a Jew. And all during his short life, he didn't look like me, nor did he speak my language. I'm proud of him, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That is a hard act to follow. But first and foremost, I want to commend the chairwoman for putting this piece of legislation forward. As a son of immigrants, as a former mayor of the town of West New York, which lies in the 33rd district where I serve now, which has been an immigrant hub for over 150 years. It is very important that we keep the perspective of humanity. And I commend all of you who have been here from the very beginning supporting this. No matter where you lie in the issue, this is about people and not policy. And so I thank you all for your hard work and your support. Madam Chairwoman, thank you. Of course, Assemblywoman Quijano, and I proudly vote yes.
Están votando ahora. They're voting now.
I just want to say that our country is founded on immigrants. Our forefathers came here to escape from tyranny. And we are all immigrants, or our ancestors are immigrants. But because the immigrants of late do not resemble our forefathers, we are now being targeted. Our country also is built on laws, 250 years worth, and that is why I became a lawyer. Anything worth fighting for, you fight in court, right? You get your day in court. And so I'm not afraid of what's to come because we're on the right side of justice.
Right?
If we can fight gun laws in New Jersey to keep them out of sensitive places, why can't we protect our people? Amenities such as healthcare, going to the police, going to their places of worship, right? So we are here to protect people and bring equal protection to our immigrants. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was 6 years old. I had to naturalize. I had to learn how to speak English. And I take my naturalization as a U.S. citizen very seriously, and I'm so proud to be an American that that's what made me become a legislator, get involved in politics. Was that I want to bring the American dream for others and give them the opportunity that I had when I came here in 1978. So to me, this bill means a lot. It means the future of not just New Jersey, but the state of America. It just makes me so proud to look out into the audience to know that we have so much support, right? We're supporting each other. When we talk about the fear, even though I'm a state assemblywoman, I chair the judiciary because I look different, I can get picked up anytime, right? I can get harassed, I can get detained, even though they will let me go. But what's to stop them, right? And so the fear is real. And so this bill, these group of bills, I feel are not only necessary, but it's urgent. And so I thank all of you who have supported these bills. I thank Assemblywoman Quijano And with that, I say yes.
Bueno, acaba de pasar la primera prueba, el primer comité aquí en la legislatura, en la Casa estatal. Acaba de pasar el Comité Judicial. Estas tres propuestas de leyes que originalmente era una sola propuesta que se llamaba el Immigrant Trust Act, ahora convertido en tres propuestas en las cuales acaban de pasar en este Comité Judicial, esperando que pueda pasar también el siguiente. Mañana vamos a volver, mañana vamos a estar de vuelta. Así que, por favor, no se olviden de compartir. Hoy ha ganado la comunidad, las personas que han salido a poder presionar a la legislatura para que voten a favor. Se ha logrado gracias al trabajo de todos y todas, comunidad, organizaciones, personas, aliados que han venido aquí. Nos vemos, por favor. In English, it has been voted. Okay, so speak loud now.
Yeah, well, we just finished voting the three package bills, 6308, 09, and 10. And so it just passed in a majority vote, thanks to the Democrats on the Assembly. It just passed out of the Assembly Judiciary Committee, and now we'll move it to the next hearing, which is the Senate Committee. And so we're waiting to see which committee it's going to be on. We're going to come back to Trenton to support that committee hearing as well. And thankfully, we did the first step of getting it out of committee, and it's one step closer to getting it to a full general vote in the Assembly and the Senate. We have less than 10 days to do it. We're all organizing, we're all here, and we'll be back in Trenton tomorrow, Thursday, and every single day it takes to get justice for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. So ahí está el compañero Christian. That was Christian from El Pueblo Unido, from Atlantic City, explaining a little bit of what just happened. They voted yes on the Judicial Committee, moving forward the three bills towards the Senate. We'll be back, I think, tomorrow or sometime this week again to continue on pushing forward with these three bills. Vamos a continuar con la lucha de estas tres propuestas que originalmente era una propuesta que se llamaba el Immigrant Trust Act o la Acta de Confianza del Inmigrante, que ahora mismo acaban de pasar y faltan algunos pasos más para que pueda llegar a ser ley y pueda de una vez por todas quedarse como ley y prevenir que las autoridades locales o las agencias de gobierno colaboren con la migra o que la migra los fuerce a colaborar con ellos. Nos vemos, cuídense.